Hey everybody, we're all the Lions UK. We are just about to start our show. Any questions for us? Get them in now. Happy Victory Monday. Here we go on the show.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Lions UK podcast, episode 309, the Tim Patrick Appreciation Society. My name is Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Love the title. As the person who was pushing for that kind of receiver for many a month before we signed him, annoying everyone, I'm sure. It's nice to see me being proven right.
He has come up big. He's the name of the show because he really kind of has taken up like the mantle by the whole left from last season's outgoings. It really felt like in clutch moments he was there to move the chains, and long may that continue. We are going to do our preamble. We're just going to update you on there's actually a lack of news on this, but about the fact that there might be some injury situations. There's one other piece of news, then we're going to get straight into Lions at Colts review shows. So without further ado, please do come and join our Discord channel. In the audio pod, it's in the description on YouTube and Twitch. It's in your live chat right now. Great place to come and chat with us and the society we've built, which we're immensely proud of. So the link is there. Please come and join us. We'd love to see you. College Football Podcast is coming up tomorrow. We are going back to back tomorrow. So College Football Podcast, Ant and Ryan are going to be reviewing what happened in the penultimate week of the regular season of college football. I think there was 7 ranked losses, or maybe it was 9 ranked losses, or 7. 7 ranked losses. Unbelievable weekend of football. Going into rivalry week next week, there are 16 teams playing for bowl eligibility in the final game of the season, but there's only like 9 spots available. So potentially there will be too many teams. There's lots of excitement. There could potentially be a 3-loss team that makes the college football playoff, which might be unjust, it might be harsh on some. Some teams were unbeaten and fell, and because of their easier strength of schedule, they may not make it at all now. It was a great weekend of college football, so come and join the guys for that. And then straight afterwards, we are going to be doing our Thanksgiving Bears preview show. We're going to be joined by Bear Down Chicago and Ryan Dengle at the very top of that show. So the Bears preview live on YouTube and Twitch, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central if you are in Chicago, and 10 p.m. UK. So come and join us for that. Please do like this episode and sub to the podcast. You guys know what to do. And please do help us out on Lions Nation Unite as well. Ant is on there all the time with Herman Moore and the rest of the guys. It's Herman's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized. There's a tip jar down below. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, want to show some love, that would be fantastic. But just being here is good enough. Right, let's get on with this. The news. There is a lot of injuries. Dan's presser is not until 5 p.m. Eastern, so we're not going to find out for another couple of hours. But the initial signs are that wide receiver punt returner Khalif Raymond has a potentially serious injury as a result of the game. If Dan's initial comments are correct, then myself and Ash, I know we're both united in the fact that we think he may be having a season-ending IR, which would be a real shame for him. Fingers crossed it's not that for a guy that, we really rely on sometimes in clutch spots. He pops up with those kind of 1 or 2 plays here or there, which really make a difference to us. So hopefully he's avoided that, but we shall see. Left tackle Taylor Decker and running back David Montgomery had to exit this game. It looked like Monty could have come back. Decker did come back, but then got yanked later on, I think. It looks like they both avoided serious injury, and I think they're both optimistic for playing Thursday, although it is a short week, so we will see what happens. Also, the cornerback Carlton Davis had to leave the game with a knee injury. He also looked like he was kind of clutching some other kind of slightly lower down area in the upper of the part of the lower leg. He got back on the bike and was kind of gingerly going, but didn't look altogether comfortable. We don't know any update on that. I think Dan kind of said that they wanted to see what happened after the game, after he started seizing up and the adrenaline's gone. So fingers crossed for Carlton, because the Lions didn't look great at corner yesterday, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail. And the final bit of news, defensive tackle Aleem McNeil has been named as the Lions nominee for the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. Ash, your thoughts on all of those, the injury and for Aleem as well?
Let's start with the good news for once. So 100% deserving for Aleem. Obviously, he's become a real foundation of this team after we picked him in the 3rd round of that first draft. earned himself a bag and is absolutely balling out. He's a top five defensive tackle right now in terms of PFF grade. Really showed out yesterday for pressures, making someone who is seen as one of the best guards in the league, Quentin Nelson, look like an absolute fool with a 37 PFF grade, including a sub 20 pass blocking grade, I believe, which is insane. But at the same time, it's good sportsman as well. Never unnecessarily rough unless you're discussing a return last week on special teams where he got himself that flag. But other than that, absolute beast on the field, but nice guy off it. Does a lot of charity work. I believe I've seen him a couple of times on the Lions posts about some of the charity work they do, just like DJ Reader did this past week before the game, just like Kirby and JMO did last week after the Sunday night game against the Jags, going and giving turkeys out to the community. Just shows the kind of culture we've got where on the field, nasty as fuck, but off the field, we're all nice and that. So it's good to see. As for the injuries, yeah, Davis said he could have. Is obviously, I think it was a knee thing. He said he thinks he's going to play, but obviously Dan's a bit more pessimistic about that. Shall we say? Obviously, he was on the bike. He was talking to a trainer, but considering how important he is to us, good that we didn't put him back in. Hopefully, Arnold should be back on Thursday with a groin injury. I know he was questionable before yesterday, but didn't travel with the team. I think the team was just being a bit protective of him. Let's not get him even worse when we need him down the stretch against what could be a playoff push. Because if he did something yesterday and really aggravated it and did himself for the playoffs, will be much worse to wear. Though, looking how the corners played yesterday, I'm probably a bit higher on them than consensus. I know people are yet again roasting Kindle Vildor for some big plays given up, but this was it last year. Sometimes gives up the big plays, but he's a good sort of depth corner. You can trust him. And then Dorsey, once again, kind of showed out. I don't think he actually got too much wrong yesterday, aside when he was playing on defense, because obviously he's usually a special teamer. But the good news is obviously with Decker is he came back in and then we pulled him on that last drive and it was basically kneel downs because what's the point of risking him getting hurt on that? And then Monty said he could have gone back in, but Dan was like, no, there's bigger fish to fry here, which shows that we've got that long-term view, as suggested with the Arnold injury, that we weren't going to risk him aggravating the shoulder injury he got just to finish out a game, especially since it's presumably a similar injury to the one that ruled him out for a couple of weeks last year. Infamously, he obviously missed the Tampa game, which meant we didn't really have a run game because that was before Gibbs exploded, which also meant we've got the Craig Reynolds block on the Amara touchdown. So swings and roundabouts, hey. And then with Leaf, yeah, the foot injury, it looks like it's going to be a long-term one. So me and you were both theorizing before the show. He's probably going to go on IR and punt returner slot receiver Maurice Alexander, who was with the team 2 years ago when Leaf was similarly injured and then has stuck on the practice squad ever since. He would probably be called up because he's got that return experience. He was the UFL special teams player of the season before we signed him. Absolute beast in the return game for then, and he did quite well for us when we had to use him in that role a couple of years ago. So him elevated, he will not give us the same offensive production, obviously, but in terms of punt return production, we'll probably get quite similar. Though I say that as if, Khalif isn't the fourth best punt returner. Well, fourth best all returner according to PFA grade so far this season, just below Kvante Turpin, who we'll come on to later. Seemingly can muff punts, do one spin move, and then house it. So having someone who's that level missing could really hurt us, especially since special teams is that 1%, as I keep saying. So having a little tiny bit of that 1% gone might hurt us in the long run.
Just to shout out Danny Mac 313 on Twitch for subscribing at tier 1, his 13th month on a 12-month streak. Appreciate you, Danny. Thank you very much. To get briefly on to the Art Rooney Awards, it is an award given in recognition of outstanding sportsmanship on the playing field specifically, not about off-field stuff. So, quite interesting. It was established in 2015, but there's a 15 award related to the 2014 season. So it's been awarded 10 times. And I'll tell you what, the caliber of player this gets awarded to is particularly impressive. Larry Fitzgerald, Charles Woodson, Frank Gore, Luke Kuechly, Drew Brees, Adrian Peterson, Teddy Bridgewater, Matthew Slater, Calais Campbell, Bobby Wagner. If you get your name on this trophy, you are a special human being. Like, all of those players are absolutely immense. I mean, even if you have a look at maybe the worst player on that list being, say, Teddy Bridgewater, he's still absolutely amazing. Who are you going to say?
I wasn't going to say, I was scared you were going to say Matthew Slater.
No, Matthew Slater's
my boy.
Slater's maybe the best special teamer of all time, all round.
Yes.
So, yeah, whoever gets this is a special player. And Aleem McNeil could well find himself up amongst that company in the next few years, the way that he's going. So, well deserved for him. And then injuries, just waiting with bated breath, really. I mean, we need Decker and Montgomery. Carlton Davis is huge for us. You know, we were criticising early on in the season Arnold and Davis for being a bit handsy and maybe a bit too many DPIs, and then you take them off the field. And then with Ash, I don't hate Kindleville for his performance yesterday, but the difference between him and the others is stark. It's not that Vildor's necessarily playing badly compared to the rest of the league or anything else like that. It's more just, look how good our players have actually been playing despite the few mishaps they've had. So I think it's more the difference rather than Kindle necessarily being bad. But anyway, let's get on with the review. Lions win 24-6. The inactives for this game for the Lions, the big one missing really was Coyote Alshika. He was made inactive because we saw the first activation of the Lions rookie guard Christian Mahogany. Ash didn't see him too much in the game, and when they had an opportunity to put him in through injury, I don't think they did that. Did we actually see any of him at all? Did he play some special teams stats?
He was special teams. He
4 snaps on special teams.
We've got ease him in. This is a guy who had glandular fever in the training camp, or
the kissing disease.
The kissing disease, the one that got Sam Darnold out, mononucleosis. So obviously he just wasn't able to train so. Getting him in on those sort of like field goal snaps is obviously a good thing for him because it's quite easy then to work him in so he can build up to it. So, as you alluded to, and as we'll go on to later, with the very obscure rule that meant we had to do this, when we had the chance to give him a snap on offense, we instead went with Nietzsche at guard, which is understandable. At least with Nietzsche, you kind of know what you're getting with Mahogany. As high as I am on him, and I think he could easily come in and give us good serviceable right guard play next year if we don't resign Zeitler. It just makes sense. Give the guy a easing in period before we start chucking him in, because who knows, we might need him a couple of weeks down the line when we're going up against, I don't know, the Bills with Greg Russo and Ed Oliver. So giving him this sort of easing in period is best for him.
Yeah, and on the Colts side of the ball, we knew that Bernard Ryman was going to be the big miss, but you had a big miss by talking about Anthony Gould in your preview article, and he wasn't active either.
Yeah. I totally didn't name my article after him or anything, but yeah, kind of was a big miss for them, because I know, as we'll get on to, Josh Downs had a good couple of plays, Michael Pittman had a good couple of plays, Pierce had a good couple of plays. They were really missing that kind of speed element that I know Pierce gives them a bit of that, but just someone else just to stretch our defense, kind of like JMO does for them, did to their defense, because that would have really helped them with the run game. I know first couple of series had some joy there, but then we shut it down. We were able just to focus on it and force them to pass. So he was a big miss for them, as was obviously Bernard Ryman, as we'll come on to, with probably the sort of ups and downs, because it's a certain player who went up against the left tackle quite a lot and put an absolute rinsing on him, which makes me sad, because obviously that left tackle is Matt Goncalves, who I was really high in the draft process. Kind of sad for me. We've gone back-to-back weeks against left tackles who I absolutely loved in the draft, and both times we've made them look like fools.
It's hard being rookie tackles. It just is. Let's go through some of the stats in this game. Jared Goff leading the Lions in passing, of course. 26 of 36, 269, no touchdowns, no picks. He joins Anthony Richardson with that stat line, no touchdowns, no picks, but Richardson was 11 of 28 for 172, significantly worse in terms of completion percentage. Detroit rushing the ball went 33 for 137 and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Gibbs was 21 for 90 and 2. Monty, before his injury, was 8 for 37 and 1. Receiving, obviously no touchdowns through the air, but lots of contributing Lions in this one. 5 of 7 for 64 was J-Mo. Amon-Ra was 6 of 7 for 62. Tim Patrick named the show after him. 4 of 4 for 55 and an average of 13.8. David Montgomery got involved. A few checkdowns, and he made them break for big yards. 3 of 3 for 36. And Brock Wright also got the game going very well and came up with a couple of good catches. 2 of 2 for 24. For the Colts, they were 21 for 96 on the ground, but that was almost all Anthony Richardson, and a lot of that was on the first drive. He was 10 carries for 61 yards. Jonathan Taylor had an awful day. 11 carries for 35 yards, including a long of 14. He had another 10 to 15 yard rush, which was called back for holding, which is actually what sprung him free. I think that 14-yard game was the last rush he had. Before that, I think he was 10 carries for 21 yards. The Lions did another number on a really good rushing team. Receiving the ball, it was all really down to one man, Michael Pittman, 6 of 7 for 96. Alec Pierce had one deep catch. He had one drop and a few poor thrown balls at him when he did actually really well. He was 1 of 4 for 39. And Josh Downs was 3 of 7 for 27. Both teams fumbled the ball. Goff had a fumble recovered by Montgomery. Anthony Richardson had one which he recovered himself, and then Jonathan Taylor botched the flea flicker, which counted as a fumble, which was recovered by Richardson himself. On defense, the Lions led by Jack Campbell with 9 total tackles. They had 1 TFL, which was by DJ Reader. 2 passes defended, both by Jack Campbell, and 6 quarterback hits. 2 by Reader, 2 by Smith, 1 by McNeil, 1 by Levi. The Lions had 42 combined total tackles. The Colts had 87, which goes to tell you exactly what sort of game this was. 87 tackles. They were led by Nick Cross with 14, but 2 others had double digits, Josiah Franklin with 13 and EJ Speed with 11. They had 3 sacks, 1 by Franklin, 1 by Buckner, 1 by Latu, and then they had 4 other TFLs, 2 by Nick Cross and 2 by Deo Odeyingbo. They had 1 pass defensed, which was by Julian Blackman, and then they had a few other quarterback hits in there as well. No picks. A good day by the punt return team in terms of Khalif Raymond at the very least. 2 for 30 for him. Both kickers were perfect. Bates was 1 of 1 from field goals. His was from 56 and 3 of 3 on extra points, and Matt Gay was 2 of 2 on field goals. And then a good day by both punters. Rigoberto Sanchez, 6 punts for 317 yards. Very impressive, although, as in the scouting report, slightly outkicked his coverage at times, hence the good return stats for Khalif Raymond. Jack Fox, a far more measured 4 for 192. He had condensed field to work with from the majority of his punts. His long was actually 60, despite the 4 for 92 being a 48 average. Ash, this game, for large periods, kind of felt fairly even. I mean, outside of the short period of play where we scored 2 touchdowns, it could be argued that actually there was just a lot of punting in this game. 10 combined punts in this game. Not a huge amount of offensive play throughout, really, but the Lions got 26 first downs to the Colts 11. The Lions were 9 of 15 on third down to the Colts 3 of 12. Despite the fact that they had 0.1 yards per play more than we did. We controlled the ball by converting those third downs. 37 minutes the Lions had the ball to the Colts 23. And I think really that's the tale of the tape. Despite both teams being quite level in some respects, when it really came down to the clutch moments, the Lions pretty much had every single one.
Yeah, it almost felt like we didn't get out of like second, third gear with this game. Like the run game, for the most part, was good. Goff delivered when he needed to, but there wasn't really any explosive plays, which hopefully we carry through to next. Well, some people are hoping we carry through to Thursday because it seems they love challenging every single explosive play because I don't believe that those exist. Cough, cough, Eberflus. But yeah, it just felt too easy. Like, I don't want to say too easy, but we didn't have to push too hard. Like the Indianapolis Colts are a very good team, like a good team. Their defense, especially. but we didn't really have to try, which is kind of nice considering where we are in the season. Obviously, we had that comeback technically against the Texans, an absolute blowout against the Jags where we didn't let up. So it's nice to almost ease off the gas a bit, go into cruise control, go a bit more economical with our energy, despite obviously the injuries we had, to then ramp up for this sort of big push we've got now where we've got back-to-back divisional games on Thursdays. We've got the Bills coming up in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a real Dukem and potentially a Super Bowl preview. We've got the 49ers who, okay, yeah, look absolute dross without Brock Purdy, but are still a talented team. You've got the Vikings who, despite constantly shooting themselves in the foot, can seemingly win games. We need the sort of to conserve our energy in a way to make that push. So it's nice to have this sort of almost like, and I'm going to use the college sort of thing, the way that quite a lot of teams the past couple of weeks in college, the big teams, schedule themselves an FCS side like Southern Charleston or Merce or the Citadel to kind of give themselves that sort of easing. That's almost what this game was for us, where we could do what we did, where we didn't have to get outside of third gear, didn't have to make explosive play, but we still won by over two scores. But at the same time, I'm saying all this, we were the first team to beat the Colts by more than a score so far this season. So even then, when we're not even out of second, third gear, we're blowing teams away in a way.
I thought we were the second. Did they not lose?
Bills are only beaten by a score, I believe.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it was less than a score.
Yeah, Bills. Sorry, yes. Right, I'm going to go through the play-by-play as we normally do, but first I have a trivia question for you.
Ooh.
This was, drawn to my attention by Brent DeWitt, who made a comment on one of your clips. And the comment was, has a field goal kicker in the NFL ever had a perfect field goal attempt season? So has a kicker ever gone perfect in an entire NFL season? Let's say after doing a few kicks, not just getting one in relief and then that's it. So I know that, including Jake Bates, there are 10 perfect seasons. Bates is on a perfect season at the moment. Yeah. He's in the record book at the moment. None of these kickers did less than 22 attempts, so they were all perfect. Bates is not the lowest. He has 25. Maybe not field goals. Like, this must be field goals and extra points combined, because he hasn't had 25 field goals. So
was there one last season?
No.
Because if there's one... No, okay. So I was going to say Brandon Aubrey.
I was going to say that there are 2 active kickers on this list. But actually, I think that one of them has not been on a team yet this season, but was active last year briefly. The other one is still very much active. So can you get the active one and the maybe still active if a team gave him a good enough deal? So these were both set in 2020.
Okay, so it wasn't... I was about to say Patterson then, because I know he was perfect with the Jags and Chiefs, unless he wasn't. But I definitely remember the Chiefs was perfect. It's 2020.
And Patterson is not on this list.
On this list, he's not, no. Oh, God, 2020.
So, for example, Brandon Aubrey last year was 94.7%, which puts him 39th all time. So a lot of people missed basically one kick.
Ooh. Very active. NFC South?
No.
Fuck.
What, were you going to say Younghoe Koo or something?
I was going to say Younghoe Koo.
Okay.
I think he got close to it one season.
I thought he did too, but I got Younghoe Koo, 2020 Atlanta, 38th, 94.8%, 94.9%. Let's see if the chat has it.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cheat. I'm trying not to.
Grandize says, yes, one was a Dolphins kicker, Jason Sanders, Dolphins. Incorrect. According to Pro Football Reference, and I trust them with my life. That's not true. Yeah. They are very, very thorough. I know this isn't great podcasting, but I hope it's a good quiz for you guys at home. There's some really big people on this list. There's some really big players on this list who are active, who missed one in the season. Justin Tucker appears twice, 2019 and 2016. Robbie Gould's in the list, who I don't think is active anymore, but he was Is Robbie Gould? No, Gould's gone, isn't he?
Gold's gone.
Josh Lambo was on this list. Graham Gano, Adam Vinatieri, Nick Folk, Graham Gano again.
I was gonna guess.
Right.
I was gonna guess. But you've already said him, Justin. He's not on the list. I was gonna say Gano.
I'll give you a division for the guy currently active.
Yeah.
NFC West.
Oh, Seattle. Jason Myers.
Correct. Jason Myers, 2020, had 29 kicks, all perfect.
Of course it was, because there's the stat, whenever it's an even year, he's really good at field goals. When it's an odd year, he's shit.
Well, is that continuing this year? Let's have a look and see how he's done so far this season. He is 15 of 18, so you're wrong.
Okay.
Who's the other one?
Okay, so who's the other one? Speaking of contracts, he must have played for a really good team.
He did play for a really good team. We knew him very well.
No, not the green and gold guy. Not the guy on meme. No!
Mason Crosby, Green Bay Packers, 2020 as well, was perfect. The other people on the list, Gary Anderson from Minnesota, 1998. Kai Forbath from Minnesota, 2016. Shane Graham for New England in 2010. Garrett Hartley for New Orleans in 2008. Mike Vanderjagt for the Colts in 2003. I probably butchered that name, sorry. Jeff Wilkins for the St. Louis Rams in 2000. And Tony Zendejas for the... It says Ram, but I just did STL with St. Louis Rams because Ram was the LA Rams of 1991. I thought it might have been the LA Rams, but then why did I not say LAR? I don't understand why the different acronym for... Anyway, never mind. I thought that was quite fun just to talk about, considering how good Jake Bates has been. He is an elite company, especially with the number of kicks he's done so far and how long the season still has to go. So there we go. Right, let's get on with the rest of this. With the drive summary, Indy won the toss and elected to receive. On the very first play, the Lions throw a nickelback blitz at Anthony Richardson. He sees it and he throws over the nickelback's head for a 9-yard gain to downs. Really good start. And then a quarterback run for 10 yards in the first. A little pop pass to downs for 11 yards, almost like a jet sweep, but in front of the quarterback rather than behind. A zone read, which Richardson tossed to Taylor for a gain of 9. So like almost half of Taylor's yards in his very first run. And then a run up the middle didn't get there. Good work by Pascal. On 3rd and 1, a Richardson quarterback draw run. He was left completely free and got 17 yards. A great tackle by Kirby saved the touchdown really early on. Then a quarterback sweep by Richardson for 8 yards down to the 4. Another incredible tackle down there. Can't remember who that was by now. But twice in back-to-back plays, the Lions had touchdown-saving tackles. And it did indeed save 4 points there. On 2nd down and 2 from the 4, Taylor ran up the middle for no gain. Then on 3rd down and 2, Richardson RPO. He kept it to throw, but Kirby came on a safety blitz, which forced a throwaway. Ineligible downfield though was accepted, which gave him another 3rd down. 3rd and 7, Richardson again under pressure throws it away. And at that position, they take the 27-yard field goal, which is good by Matt Gay. You're about to tell me who did that tackle, aren't you?
Yeah, so the first one was Kirby.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed you didn't know the second one. It's your brother from another mother.
Oh, it's Ezekiel Turner. Nice.
Yeah.
So the Lions twice get away with it in some form or fashion. Richardson's running game was giving the Lions fits in that first drive, but then they kind of went away from it, and the Lions really reacted to it very well from then on. So the Lions, having got away with it, 3 down, come out in their first possession, but don't quite get it done like they have done in previous games. 2nd and 8, Sam Laporte's a screen for 5, 3rd and 3, Goff well protected, check down to J-Mo at the sticks, converts for a first. Goff play action throw over the middle on an in-breaking route to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 15 to the Indianapolis 44. On 3rd and 3 at the Indy 37, Goff under pressure, he tries to spin out of it and slips. Buckner touches him down for the quote-unquote sack. What forced it was really good coverage, and it took us quote-unquote out of field goal range to the Indy 46. It would have been a 64-yard attempt, but the Lions decided to punt, and it's down at the Indy 10. So they got 3, having could have got 7, but didn't. But now they get the ball back. Can they punish the Lions offense? The answer is decisively no. 2nd down and 8, RPO throw to Pierce. And Richardson hit as he threw by DJ Reader, forces a slight overthrow as he rushes it. Pearce ruins Vildor on this route. There's not too many where Vildor gets absolutely annihilated. There's just a little bit of soft coverage from Vildor sometimes in this game. But in this one, Vildor just gets beaten. Really nice route by Pearce, but DJ Reader maybe saves a touchdown because a little bit more touch on that throw, and Pearce is just walking in, I think. So on 3rd down and 8 after that, throw to Pittman on a crosser for 9. Amik Robertson can't get him down early enough. Then Richardson, a play action throw to Granson for 21, but it's brought back by an Ogletree flag for holding. 2nd down and 19, Richardson overthrows Downs on a crosser, and then they have a give up run for 2 on 3rd and 19 to Taylor. And 4th and 17, a punt to Detroit 24, returned to the 40 by Khalif. And then we're getting to the end of the first quarter there. So I'll do a second drive for Detroit. So 2nd down and 10, Goff escaping to his left, throws cross body to the right-hand side to Tim Patrick over the middle for 27 yards. Really impressive throw by Goff. That's the end of the first quarter there. And then Goff, a play action throw to Sam Laporta, overthrown on the cover 2 beater, got in between the corner and the safety, but Goff just overthrew it slightly. On the ensuing 3rd and 8, a run from shotgun to Gibbs, and a great run by him for 17 yards to the 14. Some really great blocking by the Lions. The Colts clearly didn't read run whatsoever, and even then, when Gibbs got caught, kept the legs churning and got another 4 or 5 despite the contact. On 2nd down and 7, a pass underneath to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 8 yards to the Indianapolis 3. And then on first down and goal from the 3, a run for no gain, but then Jones, one of their players, just jumps on the pile after the tackle is done. And that's unnecessary roughness for doing so. So now it's a 1st down and goal from the 1.5 yard line. And Gibbs, on an outside handoff, just beats everyone for the touchdown. PAT's good. And suddenly, having maybe could have gone 7-0 down, and then Indy had the ball back, and the Lions are now up 7-3. Ash, that first drive for the Colts was a little bit worrying. Richardson was doing very well, but we kind of held some clutch tackling by us, and the first offensive possession, we're in field goal range, unfortunately gave that up, but then the defense stands up again, and then our offense comes to the fore.
Yeah, that first drive was very worrying. But it seems they had just had the perfect script to go against our defense, which kind of makes sense because that's what the point of the script is. It's having those sort of plays to feel out a defense, going and working out what the defense usually does and targeting that. So, for example, with us being breaking routes and all that works well against what the Colts do. But for them, running the QB runs, slot fades, that kind of thing, that almost seems to work. So they did it, and it worked for them. Some great tackles in the red zone, keep them from scoring a touchdown, thank God. Yeah, they kicked the field goal. There, we come out just... I'm happy in a way, and it's going to sound really bad. I'm going to say this, I'm happy Goff took that sack, but a couple of weeks ago against Houston, in those similar kind of situations, he did force the ball a bit, and it did. Obviously, so one led to he forced it on the screen, it was bumped up, it was intercepted, that kind of thing. So eating the sack in this situation, living to play another set of downs, worked. Obviously, the punt, Jack Fox, I know he got game ball as we'll come on to later, but just an absolute beast getting it down to their 10, well, to the 12, and then Downs runs it back for 2 yards, gets tackled at the 10. Then their second one, when they're off script, you can kind of tell. As soon as they got past that Granderson play action throw, it just went. It seemed they used up their 10, 15 scripted plays. Now they're actually trying to call stuff, and it just fell apart because, in that second drive, I'm sitting there, I was like, oh, God, here we go again. Pittman kind of runs the out route perfectly to get the first down, and then there's the big throw, and you're like, damn, and then it's the holding, and suddenly scripted play's gone. Richardson's not in rhythm anymore because we're starting to get to him because maybe that reader pressure earlier kind of gets to him, and now he doesn't have that script to go off. He's having to call the plays properly. It just makes him rush a bit, and then suddenly they have to punt. And instead of us doing the same when we get through all our scripted plays, it just works. Like, I don't know what the Colts were doing, to be honest, with the jumping on the pile. That's just dumb. but it works in our way. And then Gibbs gets the outside handoff and runs it in. Ala everything, and the celebration's really damn good. It was obviously the Allen Iverson celebration with Amon Ra. He's got a lot of kudos I've seen on the internet for that. Everyone's loving it, even outside of our fandom, which is always good news, considering people in our Discord will know. We've got a little bit of heat today from random fans saying, "Oh yeah, I don't like the Lions anymore," because there's articles coming out about us being Super Bowl favourites and the betting companies hating us. I was like, "Oh yeah, I would cheer for them, but they're not scrappy underdogs anymore. I hate Dan Campbell. I hate the Lions so much." But yeah, first two drives, they get the initial push. They have some momentum. Then we wrestle it back and we don't let go.
We do not let it go. So, Indy's third possession, now down 7-3, having kind of had maybe slightly the better of this game, but just not able to convert. And it kind of happens again here. Kickoff return from the goal line to the 24. On 3rd and 3, a Richardson pass to Mitchell on a quick out for 10 versus Vildor. Vildor gave him about 3-4 yards of kind of soft coverage, and that was just taken very nicely. Good timing throw by Richardson. Mitchell just very polished in that route. 2nd down and 1 in the ensuing set. An incredible deep throw to Pierce for 39 yards versus Vildor to the Detroit 11. Really good coverage by Kindle Vildor. Like, tight as you can get without giving up DPI. Let me tell you, first 4 games of the season, Terrion Arnold was giving up a DPI here. Like, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Arnold is a half a yard closer and kind of in the wide receiver's space and giving that up. Vildor plays it perfectly. He contests at the catch point. It's just a great throw and a great catch and undefendable. Some of the other plays, like I said, that 10-yarder earlier in this set to Mitchell, you know, it's maybe Vildor knowing who he is and giving up soft coverage rather than good coverage deep. There we go. Ensuing set, so starts from the Detroit 11. Tackle for no gain on Taylor means 2nd down and 10. And maybe the biggest play of the game here, Richardson with a perfect pass to the tight end Ogletree over the middle. He's got a yard of separation. There's no Detroit Lion near him. He just drops a touchdown at the goal line. And there, maybe the entire game has changed. 3rd and 10. Richardson overthrows 2 downs at the corner versus Branch. They take the field goal for 29 yards. And Detroit leads 7-6 and have the ball. They should have had maybe 2 touchdowns. They come away with 2 field goals. And that is all the points they scored. Detroit on their 3rd possession. Monty with a lovely jump cut for 8 yards. 2nd and 2. Goff play action fake end around. And then a scrambled throw over the middle to Patrick for 10 to move the chains. Goff play action check down to Brock Wright. That was actually behind the line of scrimmage. But he made a great move to beat a man and get 8 yards. On 2nd down and 2, Goff play action again. A pass on an inbreaker to JMO for 21 yards. Too easy for him. Great combination between Goff and JMO. The chemistry is just really clicking right now. On the ensuing 3rd and 6, Goff shotgun handoff to Monty. He keeps his legs churning for 13 yards, including a second push from behind to get down to the Indy 6 for 1st and goal. Goff play action throw away under pressure, but then on 2nd down and goal, handoff in shotgun. And Monty, the most incredible spinning touchdown. How on earth he stayed up? I mean, he was kind of on top of a Colt, but he was still kind of bearing his own weight and just managed to reach over the line. Incredible play. P80 is good and Detroit lead 14-6. Indy come out with their 4th possession now, still down only 1 score, but probably reeling when, you know, it could have been that they held us to 2 field goals. They instead gave up 2 touchdowns. Taylor then with a 20-yard run but brought back by holding. On 1st and 20, a play action throw by Richardson. Lovely catch by Pittman at midfield for 30 yards. Nice hit by Branch at the catch point on Pittman, but Pittman just kind of bounces off him and gets another 10 yards or so. Then on the ensuing set, lovely tackle by Pascal for no gain on Taylor. 2nd down and 10. Richardson overthrows Pierce again. If it was inbounds instead of flowing out of bounds, Kirby was going to be there first. It could have been a pick, so he's kind of lucky he overthrew that one as much as he did. On 3rd down and 10, he was off target again. They pumped to the Detroit 11 for a fair catch. About 3 minutes, maybe slightly less to go now. 2 minutes maybe. I think it's 2. Goff spins out of trouble and then slides. Franklin looks to hit him late, but there was no flag. 2nd down and 11. check down to Sam Laporta, 3rd and 7. Goff tried to force it to Cleef Raymond, but it was behind him and it was almost picked. The Colts dropped it. There was a false start on the Lions punt and they ended up punting to the Indy 19 and then kneel it out for the half with about 15 seconds to go. So Ash, Detroit go into the half 14-6 up, and kind of like I was saying in the summary at the top, it felt like the game was kind of even, but the clutch moments went the Lions' way. They should have maybe got a touchdown that first possession. With the second one, there's bits and pieces where they come away with that field goal, but Ogletree dropped it in the end zone. Like, you can't really get closer than that. Sometimes, Richardson had a bad day passing the ball overall, overshot some guys, but even when he was putting it on the money, he wasn't being bailed out by his guys either. You have a look at this halftime scoreline, and even though we were efficient on our touchdown drives, I couldn't shake the feeling we were a little bit lucky to be as far in front as we were.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, like, we kind of predicted it in the preview that if Richardson's under pressure, he's either going to dump it off to Downs or he's going to hit one of his tight ends. And you look at the sort of last couple of plays on that third drive, throws it to Ogletree perfectly, drops it, and then overthrows Downs. Like, it's almost the perfect game plan kind of from us in a way, by sort of getting the pressure on, making him rush, because he, especially at this point, I think they've gone away from the run game for some reason with Richardson, so he's being more of a traditional pocket passer, and that's not his game. It's really not at this point in his career. You want him almost, and I don't want to give him ideas, but you want to give him a moving pocket kind of thing. Honestly, kind of like what we've been doing with Goff recently as we come on. So there was a couple of those sort of the play action check down, especially in that third drive to right, for example. Goff was moving in a moving pocket to his right, hits right perfectly. That's the kind of stuff they need to be doing with Richardson, getting him on the move, because just setting him up behind the offensive line, which I know is not exactly the worst in the world, but, well, it's usually not, but you're starting 3 rookies, one of whom's a UDFA. The other one is honestly a left tackle who's coming off an ACL tear, doesn't have the strongest play strength yet. He didn't in college. He was still getting overwhelmed in some points in college. So, for example, I watched the Brackyard Brawl from last year where he did tear his ACL, but he was getting absolutely done by West Virginia defenders. So when you're putting up against Darius Smith, there's going to be issues. And then you've got Tanner Bortolini, who's a good centre, but again, it's his first season. He's not exactly be great. And you're going up against Lee McNeil and DJ Reader. You're asking for trouble for Richardson. So, we kind of got lucky, but we made that luck in a way by getting the pressure on Richardson, by forcing them to go away from this run game and forcing him to pass the ball. We kind of made our luck. And then, when it came to R1's third drive touchdown, we were efficient. They got getting Goff on the move, the shotgun handoff, which I've seen some people tweeting, shame on the Colts for not seeing that coming. Like, I know I was moaning about it in the game, saying, it's the third and long handoff. I don't like this. But that's how we are. And the Colts should have reacted to that. We did it on the first scoring drive. We did it again here, where on third long we hand it off. And because the Colts don't watch our tape, it seems, we managed to convert it and then score. And then on our fourth one, it was like 1:45 left, I think, of our first play. Fair. I know some people probably want us to be aggressive. I know, for example, I was a couple of weeks ago against Houston, I was calling for us to be aggressive in this kind of 2-minute drill situation. But the game script, the game states in a different place. We've got a score lead, so we've got 8 points up. Just drying out the clock. We're getting the ball to open the second half. So I respect what we did here. Wasn't exactly ultra conservative. Like, we still tried to push the football downfield if we could, but we weren't going to be using our timeouts. We weren't rushing. And it meant that, third, we had a 3 and out. But we got to the point where Indianapolis just didn't have time left in the half. They had to kneel it out, which meant that we could come out the second half with still all the momentum in our hands.
Just before we go into the second half, I bought myself a Christmas present. I've completed my set of Lions jerseys, the new Lions jerseys.
Have you done it? Have you bought him?
No.
Damn it.
No, I decided to get a player who hopefully should be a Lion for life. I don't know. Do you want to take a shot at who it might be? I've gone for
Offense or
back.
defense?
Defense.
Defense. Jack Campbell.
No, that was the other one I was considering.
Aleem then?
No. On his rookie deal still.
Branch.
Yeah.
Oh, we can match then. We can have smash and grab.
So there was a Black Friday deal on the white jerseys, but it was only double XL, and I'm like, I can just wear a hoodie underneath it and it'll be fine. But yeah, I've got this one's going to be in white, Branch in white, Saul in blue, and Saint in black. No, I've got Saul in
No,
black.
it's Saul in black because you got it because you were lucky. We went to the draft store and that was the only one they had.
Yeah. So I'm happy with myself. I also bought myself a new Liverpool top as well.
You got anyone on the back of that?
Someone who came alive this season. Maybe our most valuable player outside Salah.
Oh, I want to see Gravenberch. Oh my god, I got it right. Right, I love right. I know this is like a complete aside. Because I do what, as we all know, I do watch random sports. I've got a friend who supports Feyenoord, so I've seen a lot of Ryan Gravenberch in his younger career. I can accept. I can allow it.
He's been so good for us this year. Anyway, let's get on with the real football because that is what we're here to do. So the start of the second half, and the Lions have this one to start, but a really poor opening play. So outside handoff to Gibbs for a 2-yard TFL. On second 12, a delayed handoff to Gibbs for a gain of 5 on 3rd and 7. Gibbs again, a running back screen. 2 wide receivers out in front of him on this near side. And if he comes inside, he's getting stopped short. If he goes through the middle, he's getting stopped short. But he takes the tough road. Outside the left of the 2, he decides to hit the gap on the right-hand side of the right-hand side blocker. It's the right decision because that's Jameson Williams out there. You know he's going to block for his life. And on 3rd and 7, we get 8. Very key point in this game, I think, alongside them dropping the touchdown. If you go 3 and out in that opening drive, and then they're down 1 score, and they've got a little bit of momentum coming into the second half, it's going to be big. So the fact that you don't do that is really good. Goff on the play action check down to Monty for 16 yards. Really nice weaving by Monty to get that. And then a play action check down again to Monty for 6 on 2nd and 4. Another play action throw, tight window to JMO broken up, this time on 3rd and 4. A throw over the middle to Tim Patrick. You know what that means. 14 yards, moving the chains to the Indy 23. Then an Amral screen for 8, but then this is where the drive stalls out. On 2nd and 2 in the red zone, play action check down to Sam Laporta, just miffed also works. Missed by Goff under pressure. He really shouldn't have missed that one though, just a little bit inside where Sam wanted it. On 3rd and 2, Goff under pressure again, and he just slips this time after a gain of 1.5. Gets hit late again, but isn't called. It's marginal. I probably like a no call for this one. It should have been called earlier, though, but never mind. On 4th down inches, the most obvious play call was the most obvious play call. A run up the middle by Monty, and Zaire Franklin just blows it up. He goes right through left guard and left tackle, gets in the backfield, and he doesn't make the tackle, but forces Monty away from the blocking, which is on the right-hand side of the line, into the left-hand side where they've obliterated the line, and he gets stopped for a tackle for a loss of about 2. So that's a turnover on downs. So, you know, you might feel like, okay, if you go 3 and out and then you hit the punt, you were just saying about momentum. Yeah, okay. But there's a turnover on downs at like the, 10 or something. They still want to go a long, long way. So I think it's a bit of a different kettle of fish here, and we've taken some more time off the clock. It's a bit of a momentum swing, but hands to face on offense immediately sets them back to 1st and 18. But when it's 1st and long, somehow Richardson's got this power, and he throws deep over the middle for Pittman to 24 yards to Kindle Vildor. Against Kindle Vildor to Pittman. Speech is going already. Richardson then just misses Granson wide open, so the Lions bring a blitz. The tight end doesn't block, just releases upfield. Richardson gets rid of it inside 1.5 seconds, but just misses Granson up the seam. There's about 6 yards of separation. It could be a really big game, but Richardson misses just an absolute layup. On 2nd down and 10, a lovely timing route to Downs, but OPI's called on Adonai Mitchell. He sold it really badly. He went to block as if it was a basketball pick and roll. You're not getting away with that. 2nd down and 20, Richardson under big pressure, gets hit low by a lean, but manages to throw out of it. This is really backed up at this point. On 3rd and 20, a handoff to Taylor for a gain of 14, but on 4th and 6, they decide to punt to the Detroit 7, return of 14 to the 21. So, Detroit turned over on downs. Maybe it could have been a momentum swing, but they stop the Colts and get the ball back. Detroit, on their 6th possession, turn the screw. Jameson Williams with a wide receiver screen, lovely feet, kind of comes inside on the wide receiver screen when you might have thought he could go outside. He comes back in. Nick Cross hits him hard, but it still gains 15 yards. Goff with a nice quick out to Amon-Ra for 12, not unlike the completion earlier to Adonai Mitchell where Vildor was giving soft coverage. This was also soft on Amon-Ra. Then Goff on a play action is strip sacked by Laiatu Latu at UCLA. It was recovered by Monty, just it pinballed down there and he dived on it. Could have been disastrous if not, but just a loss of 3 instead. On 2nd down and 13, Goff throws the running back screen for 4 yards, and on 3rd and 9, a throw to Amon-Ra Brown who turns upfield and gets the first down. Goff play action fake, so he fakes the handoff, then faces an end around, and ends up throwing the running back screen to Monty on the other direction. A lovely spin, and he gets 15 yards. Then Gibbs running hard downhill up the gut for 16 yards to the Indy 9. Goff play action with a blown play. He ends up turfing that one. 2nd down and goal from the 9. Complete short to Patrick for 4. On 3rd and goal, handoff to Gibbs. He slips out of a tackle, goes in for a touchdown. Gibbs gets pinged for taunting because he had the tenacity to just look at a player as he was going into the end zone. Maybe there were some words shared, I'm not sure. But Gibbs, to me, just looked like he was staring at him, and they didn't like that. I mean, there's no hip thrusting. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, the PAT was good, and the Lions go up 21-6. And this is where you feel like, Ash, that things are really just going all the Lions' way, because we were saying at in the first half, they could have got 2 touchdowns, they got 2 field goals. We could have got 2 field goals, got 2 touchdowns. And then in this drive, it's still a 1-score game. There's a strip sack where they really could have got on top of the ball and it just kind of pinged around for a bit until we got on top of it. And that drive ends up in a touchdown for us. And, you know, if they get on it, then it's a short field for them. Maybe they punch it in and it could be a level game. Instead, we're 15 points in front now.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, sort of go back to that first drive out the half. I agree with the decision to go for it on 4th and inches in the red zone. But as I said yesterday, we kind of discussed it. Calling a slow developing counterplay in that situation when the Colts know you're probably going to run the ball. Like, just, I don't know. That's like, it's one of those kind of once a game where we just call a play that seems too galaxy brained. We're trying to be the smartest man in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
And it didn't work. And okay, yeah, fair. Like Monty actually nearly converts it somehow. But yeah, just if you're gonna do it, go I formation, stick Zylstra right in there as the fullback, and just run it up the gut. Like if you're gonna do it, or QB sneak it with Goff. But obviously we don't. Luckily for us, we kind of get bailed out in inverted commas by just the Colts misfiring, obviously the hands to the face first, which was, you know, really obvious because unlike the other infamous hands to the face call involved in the Lions a couple of years ago, you know, Aleem's helmet was on the ground. Like he popped the helmet off. So like, if you're going to do it, at least be subtle. Don't rip the helmet off. But then, yeah, they kind of bailed themselves out. Oh, you thought you pulled it out. Mine's down there somewhere.
You may want to qualify what happened there instead of just saying he pulled it out.
Why? I'm getting myself clips here. But yeah, so for the audio listeners, Matt has pulled out the very nice sort of clicker banner thing that me and him got at the Ford Field experience at the draft. Mine's down in a bag down there somewhere, one of my drawers. Oh, God, you found a new Steam thing, haven't you? But on the 1st and 18, like it was a damn good throw to Richardson to Pittman. Like that's when I know. Obviously, you said that. Well, you said it earlier. Like Richardson, while he wasn't perfect on the day passing, there were plays where he wasn't helped by his receivers, and there were plays like this one, like the one earlier against Vildor that was the deep pass to Pierce, where you can see why Richardson was drafted that high. You can see why me and you in particular, Matt, were very high on him, which
It was where he put
everyone,
it all together last
yeah,
week, and this week it was just inconsistent again. And those are drive killers
yeah,
when you don't make them, and they are touchdown givers when you do make them. And when you're
exactly.
as inconsistent as he is, you can't do that. But when you do it, it's the sort of thing where you go, holy shit, this guy's got it.
Exactly, yeah. And then obviously based all that on a driving into I'm actually it's gonna be the rare time where I actually agree with the flag because usually when there's like these contentious flags, I'm like, no, no, and you're like, actually, yeah. I know it's soft, but you can quite see Gibbs fully turn around on the play to stare down the defender while it's not he's saying any words and that, and it's obviously not the hip thrust in that. It's quite clear that he's doing it to taunt the opponent. So while it is a soft flag, I can see why it's flagged.
I
He is probably
mean,
gonna kill.
maybe, but like if there's a yard between you and you're doing it right in their face, I get it. Like it's intimidating, but there's 7 yards between them, 8 yards between them. Like you're not. I feel like taunting is a penalty because they want to avoid a retaliation turning into a brawl. Like the whole point of taunting for me is that you want to avoid people swinging. Well, there's
Yeah.
no risk of that here. Like, I get what you're saying, but in the spirit of the law and what it's trying to avoid from my perspective, this ain't a penalty because it's not risking anything. I don't think they're going to rush you 8 yards away to take a punch. Like, I just don't see it.
Uh, like, yeah, and maybe in this situation, yeah, but I think it's because if they don't, let's say, because Gibbs did it, let's say I don't know, in a couple of weeks' time, enough, like we were saying with the branch ejection kind of thing, you want consistency across the entire league. So while, yes, there was not a risk of the punch happening here, because it's a similar action that in another situation might cause it's, let's say, I don't want to put, obviously, you know me, I don't want to put out in the universe, but let's say I don't know, Gibbs does it to TJ Edwards on Thursday and it does cause a brawl. You can't have it both ways. Then you can't have it just because it didn't cause a brawl in this situation. Not going to call it. You have to have that consistency. So I can see why. While I definitely agree, it's soft. Purse, if I was the ref, I would not throw the flag. I can see why they have because they have to have this consistency. So it's that rare time where I'm kind of saying I kind of get it. Obviously, now if let's say I don't know Swift does it on Thursday because I don't know he breezes past Malcolm Rodriguez for a touchdown and he does it and it's not flagged, then on Thursday I'll be like, okay, yeah, then it's bullshit. Where's the consistency? But it's just that thing where I think, especially with taunting, they're being very harsh on it this year. So another one that's obviously been seen around the league is the whole gun fingers. You're getting done for that. So Mahomes will probably get one for his celebration for one of his touchdowns this week against the Panthers yesterday, where he did the gun fingers. He's going to get a fine for that. It's very soft, but because this is what the league's trying to do right now, kind of like with the head-to-head stuff.
I would just take the piss of it. Like, if they're going to call
Yeah.
that sort of thing, I'm taking out my air shotgun next time and just.
You mean like the college player who did it to the poor running back at TFL and then just pretended to unload a shotgun into him, which is fair, which is why, and it kind of comes on because I think this was the Gibbs touchdown where him and JMO did what I'm going to call the Beyblade celebration, but I know it's probably not Beyblade. It's probably them pretending to gamble on dice. So they're probably going to get one. But again, as we'll say with I think there's the branch hit coming up as well, which I think is in one of the next drives.
Yeah.
It's one of them where the fans will happily ban. Like Gibbs has even said, him and JMO have said that they're just going to take the fine. But I can see the fans kind of doing that thing where you donate a portion of it to a charity or whatever to make up for the fine kind of thing. Kind of like quite a lot of fans did for the illegal use of the head with Branch. We're going to be doing that again, it seems. But Branch, as we'll get on to, has said that he's going to appeal the hit because it was like, what's he supposed to do in that situation? But we'll come on to that in a sec, I guess.
All right, let's crack on from here. Then 21-6, Indy take over in desperate measures time. Richardson with a quarterback draw, a nice run, goes right through Branch for 17 yards. Maybe the only other positive quarterback run he had in the entire game, apart from in the final drive, potentially. Failed flea flicker next up. I don't know what Jonathan Taylor's doing, but he can't throw a toss 5 yards. And I don't mean that as a euphemism. Second down and 10. Richardson throws under pressure from Pascal, incomplete. Then under pressure again, Richardson escaping upfield, fumbles caused by a lean, but Richardson falls back on it himself. Really fortunate to get away with that one. On fourth down and 8, they go for it, and they do complete it. However, a huge hold on Smith means it comes back. 4th and 18, therefore, they end up having to punt then to the Detroit 12, third quarter by Amon-Ra, and that's the end of the third quarter. We're going to go to the end now. Goff play action tight end screen to right for 16. Gibbs with a wicked spin, but there's about 4 people around him. There's too many, so he only gets 2 yards. Goff play action throwaway under pressure. 3rd and 8. Misses JMO. Punt. We get a running into the kicker penalty. It's only 5 yards and not a first down, so we actually decline it. Downs returned it from the 10 to the 15. Indy's 8th possession. They start with a false start. Shooting themselves in the foot once again. 1st and 15, Richardson. An amazing throw to Dullin against Vildor on the far sideline. But Dullin just fails to get both feet in bounds. He should have done, and he didn't. And so Richardson's poor stats, again, not helped by just poor technique. Because this is picture perfect throw to the sideline. You just got a toe tap. And when he's catching the ball, he takes 1 foot up, and that's the foot he doesn't get back down. Richardson under pressure, hit in, at the goal line, probably just outside of the end zone by Levi, and as he falls backwards, tries to throw it away. The commentary say it's a fumble, which is recovered by Zadarius Smith for a touchdown. It was actually batted down by Wingo for an incomplete pass. 3rd and 10, a poor and hurried throw by Richardson. Straight into the arms of Carlton Davis, but dropped. A punt to the Detroit 38, return to the 45. So Detroit taking control, but offense kind of goes off the boil a little bit. Goff with a checks down to Gibbs, but it's for a 3-yard loss. 2nd and 13. Gibbs with the run-off tackle for 5. 3rd and 8. Goff escaping right and throws it away under pressure. Punt to the 13. Fair caught. Indy being given more chances, but cannot do anything with it. 2nd and 3. Quarterback draw for no gain. 3rd and 3. Really poor pass. Under pressure from Aline to absolutely no one. Groundings called. 4th and 14, punt to the Detroit 33, return to the 41. And they also had ineligible downfield, which adds 5. On the ensuing 3rd and 2 for the Lions, Goff hands off to Gibbs. A nice extra push for 4 yards. Then Goff, play action under pressure, throws up to Amon-Ra and Brown, but way behind him, incomplete. That's how you throw the ball away, Anthony Richardson. You throw it at least towards your own guy instead of into complete air. 2nd down and 10, hand off to Gibbs. Great rush defense causes a loss of 4. On 3rd down and 14, a check down to Sam Laporte over the middle for 9, puts him just in field goal range. 4th and 5, a 56-yard field goal is good for Jake Bates. He remains perfect on the season. Detroit lead 24-6. Last possession for each team now. Still about 7 minutes to go in this game. Richardson with a pump fake and rush upfield for 2. Slides down at that spot. 2nd down and 8. Richardson with a deep throw left to Pittman. Hit late, quote unquote, by Branch, was inbounds, or so we thought it was late, but actually he led with the helmet and hit him in the helmet. Not the first time that has happened to Brian Branch, and I'm just putting this out there because I want to protect myself if it actually happens. There could be a potential suspension coming for Brian Branch. No one else is saying that. It's poor technique. There's no other way about it. When you watch it live, it doesn't even look bad. It looks like they're calling it for it being late. The coverage is saying, but he's in bounds. And then you watch it back. He doesn't lead with the shoulder. He leads with the head. And he hits the man in the head, who's utterly defenseless. It's not a really bad hit. Like, he hasn't hit him with a huge amount of ferocity, even though the hit in live real time looks like a big hit. It actually isn't a big hit. But Branch needs to learn a lesson here. It's cumulative effect. It's a 4th one this season.
Yep, and I know we discussed it a couple of weeks ago with the ejection, to jump in, but it's Kareem Jackson all over again. It's Derwin James last season, where, yeah, this can happen. I think that's why Branch is saying he's going to appeal it, because he knows it's going to happen. But I think he's going to appeal because it obviously was called as hit out of bounds. He's going to appeal that, but he knows. So he's trying to avoid the game check fine for that, but he knows he's going to get one for helmet to helmet kind of thing.
It was just called unnecessary roughness. I don't think it was called late hit out of bounds.
Which drive are we on?
It's the last Colts drive.
Last Colts drive.
Penalty, lowering the head to make forcible contact. So
yeah,
it was a head-to-head that it was called for on the field. So I just feel like it. So the fine could be like a quarter of his yearly earnings at this rate because of how much is getting fined and how much is getting escalated. But I kind of feel like the league are going to want to make an example of him here. And even though I've just bought his jersey, I low-key don't hate it. And I don't think it's as egregious as Kareem Jackson, who like clearly didn't give a shit. I don't think Branch doesn't give a shit. When you have a look at his tackling technique, it's not like he's torpedoing people. He's not like his head isn't 2 yards in front of the rest of his body. Like it's the sort of tackle which wouldn't be called 5 years ago. Like Kareem Jackson's playing in the fucking late 90s. Like Tom Brady getting his head taken off in the early 2000s. Kareem Jackson lives in that era. Branch, 5 years ago, that tackle's absolutely fine. Like, it's perfectly reasonable. There's no malice involved whatsoever. It's just not the way you're meant to do it now. And you've got to learn at some point. But anyway, I'll move on. So I'm flogging a dead horse here. So Richardson throws to the end zone after that penalty from the 30-yard line towards Downs versus Dorsey. Downs maybe has a step on Dorsey just, but is overthrown. 2nd down and 10, he throws it away under pressure from Trevor Nowaski. 3rd and 10, a quarterback draw for 4 yards. On 4th and 6, quick throw on a crossing route to Pittman, but he's tackled for only a gain of 1 by Amik Robertson for a turnover on downs. And the Lions with 4:42 on the clock and all 3 timeouts for Indianapolis Colts kill the game on this one drive. Goff, 2nd down and 12, comeback throw to Jamo for 16 yards. A mazy run by Gibbs for 15, cutting here and there, all in between the tackles, making several miss. Gibbs running up the gut for 5. On 2nd and 5, a Jamo jet sweep for 4. On 3rd and 1, a cutback by Reynolds for 6. And we kneel the ball down. That's the ball game. Fantastic way to end the game with a 5-minute drive, considering how much the Lions have kind of struggled to move the ball. Even in the field goal we got in the previous drive, we started at our own 46 and we only got it up to, I can't add it up now, they're 48. No, that's not right, they're 38.
They're 38,
yeah, so we didn't exactly advance it very far, 17 yards to get that field goal. So our offense in that 4th quarter kind of suffered. There was a couple of punts in there. Ending in that way, I think, was a really nice way to kind of do things. Overall, Ash, that second half ended out with a touchdown in a drive where we fumbled the ball and got lucky to get it back, and then a field goal late. We didn't concede a point in the second half again. I think, is that the 3rd straight game now that we haven't?
Yeah, the only time we've conceded points now in the second half of a game in the past 5 weeks was against the Packers, and that was all the points. I believe. I think we've had a shutout completely in the second half since then. I know it's 10 straight quarters we haven't given up a touchdown as well, which is insane. To the point where AG's literally sitting there in the second half on the bench like, I can just sit now. Like, perfect. But yeah, the defense definitely did enough for us. Like, it's like we're now some national people and international people, so somebody can follow, are now starting to recognize that, where they're saying, hang on, the Lions have an elite offense where they can win every which way in that way, but now the defense is being elite without Hutchinson, which is scary for the teams to think about, because you think about us, even historically, as far as I can remember, and people can correct me here, but ever since like the Barry days, that's what we've been more known for. I know 2014 we had a really damn good defense, but for the most part, it's been Lions win by outscoring you. Now it's Lions win by outscoring you while also choking you to death with their defense and special teams, which is great.
Yeah. Looking at the overall game then, I mean, one of the things I said was that the offense kind of sputters, but just does enough. And it's kind of weird to say, because you have a look at the stat line for Jared, 10 yards per completion, 26 of 36 for 269. So we clearly moved the ball. We were really good on 3rd down. We went for 4.5 yards a carry for Gibbs. Monty went for about 4.5 yards per carry. All of the touchdowns on the ground, so we kind of controlled the clock. But We went through it then in the second half. How many times did we end up punting the ball? How many times in drives did we, not really get there? We ended up fumbling it and got lucky. Like, our defense played well against a team that shows us considerable threat, especially on the ground, and a trio of good receivers. And Richardson wasn't helped out by drops, but I think a better team might have given us a bit of trouble in this game the way we were playing. We didn't get out of second gear, like you said, and it feels weird to say when we were so efficient on third down, but what happens if we play the Eagles in this game?
Yeah, true. But partly I think it's just because, as I say, we went into that half of the 8-score lead. We score coming out the heart. Well, no, we don't. We have to turn over and down. So we nearly score on it. And then we finally do. As soon as we score, though, it seems to say we went into cruise control. We still moved the ball. So we got obviously the 16-yard pass to right. But I think at that point, we were just doing offensive version of prevent defense where we're going to grind down the clock. We'll go up to the line slowly, snap the ball with 5 seconds left on the the play clock, grind down the clock that way. Where, we didn't need to get out of second gear. Obviously, if we were playing the Eagles, who, Saquon Barkley's got 600 yards from scrimmage over the past 2 games, then we might be in a bit more issues. But because of who we were playing, we almost didn't need to. Plus, it's also, we can't give credit. I'm going to give credit to their defense as well for being there. This is, again, a really good defense. Like Nick Cross, Julian Blackman are damn good safeties. They've got a good couple of corners. Their linebacking duo is really good. And they've got people up front on the defensive line. They did really well against our offense, better than arguably some of the other teams in their division did with arguably better personnel. So I'm thinking the Texans there. They did really damn well. So it's partly we didn't get out of second gear because we didn't need to, but at the same time, it's also because they didn't let us. They played really damn good defense against us in the second half. It's just our defense was even more strangling to their offense, where we just didn't let them have anything really.
Yeah. Okay. So highest pressure rate of the year for the Lions defense. I know that you talked about how well they choked the other team, but it kind of felt like it was coming from everywhere. Smith obviously had a really good day, but I having a look at the pressures for all of our defense, it was shared out really well. Reader had a couple, Levi had one, Nowaski had one, Pascal had a couple, Aleem had 4, Smith had 5. Like, although Smith dominated on that side against the backup, it felt like they were having trouble everywhere on that line.
Yeah, so partly becomes, as we're saying, Smith against the backup, him being there, but just Aleem going to absolute work again, as we said earlier, with his discussion of him getting the Art Rooney Award nomination. But you look at the pass blockings. He was going up against Quentin Nelson. Nelson, 19.3 pass blocking grade, a pass blocking efficiency of 93.3%. That's not good. Dalton Tucker, the other guard, 93.3% pass block efficiency. So the people don't know, pass block efficiency is basically percentage of your snaps that you win. You don't give up pressure. So when your 2 guards are giving up pressures basically on 1 in every 10 plays, your guards are giving up 1 every 20-ish 50-ish plays, because they're at 98% efficiency, roughly. That's really not good. Bortolini was also giving good pressures. It was from everywhere. Aleem and Reader, really good pairing against them this week in the pass rush. Reader stepping up because he's been great in the deep run defense. Now we're starting to get a push from on the interior as well. And I know it obviously caused a bit of malignation between us, me and Ant on the preview. But Pascal, I know, again, 2 pressures isn't exactly great from him. So 3% win rate this week. But again, it's because he's occupying Braden Smith. He's not letting Richardson go that way. It's keeping him in the pocket for then Z, Aleem, and Reader to crash down on. So, maybe he could have got a few more pressures if he disengages, because it's him and then the linebackers doing their roles, keeping Richardson in the pocket, that let us get all these pressures, which meant then they have to start passing the ball because they're falling behind. They can't keep doing the run stuff, even though that's the stuff they're good at. They can't do it. I know, obviously, last week they did it against the Jets where they just kept running they kept going for the run. Even I think it's like 31 runs for 95 yards for them last week. They couldn't do that this week because they knew it wouldn't work. Like Taylor was getting bottled up. They didn't want to risk it with Richardson because we were getting that pressure. So it was just a combination of it feeding into itself in a way where because Aleem's getting the push up front, they can't run Taylor, and DJ Reed's getting the push up front, they can't run Taylor because Pascal's there holding the edge really well on the contain after that first drive. They can't run Richardson, which means he has to stay in the pocket, which means then Aleem can get even more push. He can get even more push to keep having to fall behind again and again. It was just a self-fulfilling prophecy for them with their offensive line and Richardson in this week where they couldn't dig themselves out the hole. They couldn't get themselves that little cushion to pass the ball to get themselves out of the third and longs where, yeah, we could pin our ears back and absolutely go for them.
So what do you think it was about the Colts offense? Because the first drive looked so efficient, so good, really good game script. Richardson kind of being a big threat with his legs, it kind of not being the primary thing, but, they had a little pop pass to Downs. They had quick throws, getting the ball out of his hands, sort of with instinct, or they're playing either quarterback draw or they're doing quarterback sweep or stuff like that. And then it kind of came back for the odd play here or there, but it didn't feel like it felt like their entire script changed after that first drive. And I don't really know why. And I don't really know whether we affected that. I do think we did better against the runs he then did have subsequently, but because it wasn't like a fundamental part of their offense, it was like a change-up, as opposed to what they were doing in the first drive. Like, they went away from something which was working.
Yeah, so as I say, I think it was halfway through that second drive for them that it changed. It was partly to get out of all those scripted plays, so then they are operating on what we were doing, and it almost seemed we lulled them into a false sense of security, maybe with their scripted plays. We were like, we'll let you feel us out, but at the same time, we're feeling you out. And as soon as we see that those scripted plays are gone, suddenly we're going to knuckle down on you. So it's partly that, and also because Richardson almost probably lost trust in most of his receivers throughout the game. So I know Granderson, obviously, his big game point brought back for an arbitrary hold, and then he overthrows Downs. The ones to Pierce where he just Pierce didn't bring him in, Ashton Doolin not bringing in the front of the sideline. It was a combination of maybe them not having the scripted plays anymore coming out so then they're having to call plays on the fly, and it means instead of the receivers knowing what they're doing, because usually your first 15 plays or the script plays are installed in the walkthrough. So even if you can't hear with the crowd noise, which maybe also played a factor, because as we'll probably come on to in a minute, the one pride traveled really well again. It did affect the Colts in some ways because the receivers knew what they're doing. As soon as they get out of that, and they are having to listen to Richardson in a noisy environment in their own home turf on what's supposed to be their special. I was about to say special night then, but obviously it's their special afternoon with their lovely, lovely new uniforms that actually did look really good, but didn't help them. That, and then because Richardson lost faith in his receivers, which meant he was having to then force it to a certain number of guys. So obviously Downs is his big, not big, because obviously Downs is my size, but his sort of trusted target. Pittman is his big target, the guy he can force feed the ball to. But everyone else appears to be having a 25% catch rate, Adonai Mitchell having 33% catch rate, and then everyone else that he targeted not bringing a single ball. He just lost trust in his receivers. So he then had to force feed it to Pittman, 2 downs, which we could prey upon. And as soon as they got the ball, tackled. So they were not getting much yak as well, which might have helped them. But we really knuckled down on that, especially in the red zone, which really helped, which forced them into field goals when they might have got touchdowns, or force them into punting because we stopped their drives before they got us to the red zone. So they had to punt to us. It's that combination of loss of trust and loss of scripted plays in a way.
All right. We've talked about the rest of what I have for game themes during the play-by-play. So let's get into stock up, stock down. Who do you want to give a shout out to this week?
Do I go for the obvious one?
Yes.
It's the guy we named the show after. Timmy Patrick. I know I probably pissed everyone off over the off season to first and mostly through training camp saying we need an X receiver, we need an X receiver, we need an X receiver. I know they're not going to get many targets, but we need one. This is why. Like for one, I know I was saying for once, he only got 4 targets, bringing them all in 55 yards, doing the Josh Reynolds work over the middle, stretching the defense a bit, being that possession receiver when we needed him to, because I think at least 2 of his catches were on 3rd and longs. That's why we needed him, and he's really broke out. And if we can keep this going against other defenses and in other situations where maybe JMO gets a couple more looks, and even though I say that JMO got 7 targets, but when everyone else is a bit more fit and fine, so Laporte, if we get that connection back, they won't be able to stop it because you cover JMO and you can only cover so many players. So having that consistent possession guy in a 3rd down that isn't Amon-Ra, that isn't Laporte, that you can just go, right, you're going to take a hit here. I'm sorry you're going to take a hit, but you've got the size to handle it. You're going to run this 15-yard in route, and Goff's going to hit you perfectly in time, and you're just going to have to brace for the hit, get there and get the 1st down. Having that option of backing our offense again after kind of missing it this first half of the season and in training camp with the loss of Reynolds to Denver, ironically the team that then released Patrick to him to come here. It just opens up the offense in such a big way. And now, because we know Goff's got that trust in him, you listen to when he was asked about him in the post-game press, and he says, yeah, Patrick does everything right. He catches the ball and he's got the size. When it comes to playing the big boys in the playoffs, when we do have to play the Eagles, we might have to play, I'm going to say it, and it might be a hot take, the Buccaneers, because I think they're going to win the NFC South now. When we have to play these teams that maybe have a bit more on offense and have more talent on that defense, having him there will be key because, God, you remember the first half of last season where every catch Josh Reynolds had went for a 1st down and touchdown?
Yeah.
If we can get it to 80% of the catches that Tim Patrick from here get a 1st down touchdown, that's going to really help us in the long run.
Yeah, he absolutely feels like Josh Reynolds in this game. Like, whatever we lost with Josh going, Tim is making up for that now. You know, he feels like he's getting as much as, and I'm not going to say more than, because I don't think that's genuine to what happened last year, but he's on the way, and now can he stack these few games? He's had a few good games like this recently. Let's keep it going. My first guy is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he's had a terrific season all year, but especially because, you know, Monty goes down and then gets taken out of the game by the staff when he could come back in. We're saying, you're the one carrying this team. And, you know, Goff threw the ball okay. He had a few poor throws in here as well that were broken up or maybe should have been a pick at the end of the first half. Gibbs was the guy getting those extra yards, keeping the legs churning, several ones, gets contacted a few yards beyond the line of scrimmage, ends up getting an extra 5 after contact. Some of the spin moves he was doing was absolutely incredible. You know, when you go 21 carries in a game, when you are, when you've got 2 good running backs like this, and you haven't maybe had that volume, the fact that he kept it going all the way through the game, he finished off those 2 touchdowns at the end. You know, he's such a clutch player, whether it's in the red zone, running downhill. Late in the game, he had that 12-yard rush up the gut, where he just went, right, I'm running downhill. Went kind of in between left guard and centre, split a couple of defenders. I think it was like split 2 linebackers, get hit by the safety, being the last defender in the red zone. Like, the guy can do everything, and we know this from the yards he's got. He's a special guy, especially when you're outside the tackles. But in a clutch moment, when you need him to do the stuff within the tackles as well, he absolutely can do it. Super impressive. Gives me confidence for the rest of this year that no matter what happens with either one of these running backs, that if it's David having to carry the load or Jahmyr, we're going to be absolutely fine.
Yep. And for my second guy, I'm going to go to the other Bama boy offense, and it's the guy I can't mention a bit earlier. I know he didn't do the most with the ball this week. It's not like last week where he set career high in yards, but JMO again with the blocking. So the block that on the screen that got us that 1st down on the Gibbs screen, him doing some of the breaking routes as well. He must be leading the league right now in double clutch catches, because damn, the amount of hand ones he's had. It's really gone from him being and I say this in jest, and I don't fully mean it, but a glorified Marvin Hall, where he was a clear out guy who got some deep passes if he was open. He's become so much more than that. And the good news with him as well is, and it's come out in the past 10 minutes, no charges will be brought against him for that concealed weapons charge and its traffic stop on the 8th of October. So JMO is free, people. We don't have to worry. The police aren't bringing charges against him, which mean the league shouldn't, because the police have found nothing wrong. So long as he keeps on the straight and narrow, and according to that Twitter account today, stays away from the gas station Viagra to bone the opponents even harder, JMO should be good, hopefully.
All right, my second guy, I'm going to go to a guy who has played more than 30 reps on defense 6 times this season as a backup. He didn't start this game, actually, although we thought he might start this game. Mm-hmm. He did start against Jacksonville last week. In the last 4 of his games, against Dallas, Minnesota, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis, he has consecutive PFF grades of 73 plus. He may be limited. He may have things that you can pick apart from him, but maybe fundamentally one of the best lines we've got on this team. I got a game ball to Malcolm Rodriguez. You are a Detroit Lion, and my God, he just exemplifies everything it is to be a member of this team. Let me never doubt his position in this team ever again, because the guy is a fantastic tackler. He's clutch. He reads the game so well. Run defense is great, good coming downhill. Maybe not the best coverage guy. He never will be. But doesn't have to be, as long as we've got him. Him and Jack are going to be absolutely fine back there if they're fundamentally the 2 linebackers playing the most snaps. It gives me great confidence with Alex out that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%, which is why when I know we mentioned it earlier with the jersey, you said, oh yeah, be a Lion for life. I said him because he can. The good thing about him as well is, unlike maybe any of our other linebackers, he can play all 3 spots fairly well. Like, you stick him in at the Mike, he will do well. You stick him at the Will, he will do well. You stick him at the Sam, which is where he's played quite a lot of snaps the past couple of weeks, he's going to do great. Like, I don't know, obviously, that rookie season where he was just absolutely great, like arguably up there as a linebacker in the league until the last couple of games in that season. He might never reach those heights where he's going to be playing 80-90% of the snaps, just because, number one, he's obviously a shorter guy. He's stout. He can probably take the hits, but that's not the best use of him. But number two, we don't need him to. Right now, okay, when Anzalone comes back, he'll probably go back into rotation. But then, hopefully, when it comes to in the future, yeah, him and Jack might be the starters, but then, hell, you might be able to rotate in Nowaski, you might be able to rotate in Neiman, you might be able to rotate in Turner, even David Long, who was elevated from the practice squad this week. He got in on a couple of snaps. You've got that rotation now, but yeah, Malcolm can be a leader in that sort of linebacker room next to Jack for the long term, where you can trust him. Even coverage-wise, okay, he hasn't been great at it recently, but in this game, he wasn't too bad. I think he got targeted once and didn't let the catch.
What he allowed 1 of 1 for 7 yards.
There we go. That's feasible. That's fine. Let me look, but I don't think he gave up any yak on that, which is the main thing I'm looking for. He did. Hell, on that one catch for 7 yards, it was 11 yards of yak. So technically, I think it was a screen where it's just because he was the nearest defender on it. He's getting targeted class with it.
Yeah.
The fact he still managed to cut that screen off for not a first down shows that he does have the chops there. You just got to use him right, and we will do that. I trust his defensive coaching staff completely to do that, because they picked him day 3 for a reason, and they've trusted him with all these different roles, being the Mike, being the Sam, being the Will, special teams. He can do it all.
He can. Are there any honourable mentions you want to give?
I know he didn't get his pick, so even though he nearly did, but he was great in all the other aspects of it. So actually, for a person who, even at me, the biggest fan of him, slated his tackling coming out of college, Kirby showed why he's an all-round safety now.
The tackling was
85
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, like he can do it all now, which is great because, yeah, if Branch gets suspended, hopefully he doesn't. But now we can kind of trust him. We can trust him to be the leader in that backfield where last year maybe it'll be a bit like, okay, maybe we need to get someone off the practice squad or something because I don't trust him back there. Now I trust him to be a single high. I trust him to be in the box. I trust him to do split shell stuff, which is great for me because obviously that means I can just keep blowing my trumpet about him.
Yeah, I mean, the whole defense deserves a shout out, really. I mean, Smith was absolutely excellent. We've mentioned him. Aleem, we've mentioned him. DJ Reader, I mean, the fact that he got two pressures in the middle there and just kind of soaked up all that pressure, they didn't really get anything going in the run game. He was a big part of that. Neiman got the start, but only had 11 snaps. There's no one else on the defense I really want to give a massive shout out to. Pascal had a couple of really good tackles. He had a poor grade overall. I don't really know why. Potentially, maybe that was some of the Richardson runs earlier in the game where he didn't have a fantastic time of it. Offensive line generally had a good day. I thought Goff had a good amount of time to throw. Obviously, there were some drive killers where Goff was under pressure and had to throw it away, or Goff, obviously took his sack, and that was unfortunate. But for the most part, I think he had a bit more time to throw than he's had in previous weeks.
I can double check that. Give me a sec. While I check this, I can read it out instead of typing it out for you. The practice report for today has come out. We have done a walkthrough, so again, estimated. No practices for Carlton Davis with a knee and thumb, Taylor Decker with a knee, Monty with a shoulder, Leaf with a foot, DJ Reader with an illness, and Amon Ra with a knee. Full practice for Arnold with his groin injury. No other listings on the walkthrough.
Okie dokie. We'll get to all of that, of course, when we do our Bears preview this time tomorrow. Well, almost this time tomorrow. 25 hours time at the time of speaking.
So this is Goff, in terms of time to pass, this was his fourth highest. Well, times throw, it's the fourth highest of the season with 2.85 seconds. The only ones that had more on were week 10 against the Texans with 2.86, and then 2.88 week 3 against the Cardinals, and then week 4 against Seattle. He had 3.18 seconds to throw. So yeah, the pass protection gave him a couple of sacks, but as I said earlier, better him take them sacks than throw the ball into dangerous positions.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to shout out? Apart from Hogan Hatton, don't do it.
Oh, God damn it. Okay, Dorsey. Because, terms of PFF grade wasn't the greatest, which I disagree with. So he gave up one catch on 2 targets for 22 yards, but he was tight to him. And then special teams, he was an absolute demon again. 77.2 grade, got a special teams tackle, played 20 snaps, which is joint most on the team with Nebraska, Varkey, and Turner. He's a free down sort of special team and can play defense to a fairly reasonable standard. So him stepping up yet again, really good to see.
I'm just going to tell everyone, by the way, we were talking about Jake Bates earlier. He is PFF's 5th highest ranked kicker of the season, which I think is pretty impressive. The 3 above him, 4 above him, Aubrey, Boswell, and Myers. And then Chad Ryland for the Arizona Cardinals, while they had an injury to their kicker. He played 7 games and was pretty good in that respect too. I think Jake is being harshly done by there, to be honest, but an 86.9 grade on the year for him. Right.
I think he's getting dinged for the missed extra point earlier in the season.
Yeah, all of the other people have missed more than him above. Just to say, by the way, more kicks. I think it's maybe the manner or difficulty of. I don't know. But anyway, let's look towards the rest of the slate that happened, and the first one, which we haven't talked about, is the Snow Globe game. The Steelers falling to the Browns in Cleveland 24-19 in what's being described as one of the most aesthetically pleasing games of the entire season, Ash.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a lot of it because I had work the next day. But having watched it back, it was a really damn good game. Like, and again, I'm leaning into some of the memes here, but honestly, and I know he isn't the greatest person off the field, there's not many QBs better to listen to in post-game presses than Jameis Winston is there. The dude speaks like he's sprouting off Shakespearean poetry. And he somehow was managing to drag this Browns team from the depths to win some hard games. Like, we'll both admit, I'll definitely admit it. In the preview, when we were doing our picks for all the week's games, I handily said the Steelers, didn't I? And I've got shown up here, and maybe that's the reason why Ant hasn't shown up today, because he knows that we'll absolutely rinse him for, oh, you got like memeing us for our course, you're going to pick the Browns kind of thing. We should have done. Like, maybe, because that defense stepped up for them. I know that the fourth quarter was just a blitz of scoring. The Steelers scored 13 of their 19 points in that fourth quarter. The Browns scored 14 of their 24 in that fourth quarter. But in the battle of two exemplary defenses in a way, the Browns one came out clutch, and the offense did just enough to win the game.
Such a weird game because if you have a look at it, Russell Wilson threw for a touchdown and no picks. They also had a touchdown on the ground. Cleveland passed for an interception with no passing touchdowns, and despite having 3 touchdowns on the ground, only had 85 rushing yards. Like, if you have a look at the box score, there should be no reason why the Browns win this game. I mean, they even fumbled the ball 3 times and lost 2 of them to Pittsburgh fumbling it twice and losing 1. So they fumbled the ball more, they had the ball intercepted more, they literally had less passing yards and less rushing yards, and somehow won this game. I mean, and they were always in front, pretty much. Like, I don't know about exact method of scoring, but in terms of quarters, Cleveland scored 10-3 in the second quarter and then remained ahead until the 14-13 in the fourth quarter. So, like, you know, it's just a weird game to me. But Browns clutch, and, you know, Chubb for going for less than 3 yards a carry, but 2 touchdowns. Just very impressive in harsh conditions, I guess. And Jameis, I mean, Amazon delivered for him, shall we say.
Oh, God, yeah. I like that. It's a good reference. I like it.
Love him. Right. Next one up is the NFC North clash between the Vikings and the Bears. And Vikings run out 30-27 winners, but man, they are going to be sweating off this one. They're still only a game back from the Lions, going to 9-2. And Darnold, 22 of 34 for 330 and 2 touchdowns. And Aaron Jones went for almost 5 yards a carry. And yet the Bears looked, I think, low-key great. Caleb, 32 of 47 for 340 and 2 touchdowns. We face them next. Caleb's best game of the season, coming off his previous best game of the season the week before. The Bears were down by 14 late and end up making a huge comeback to send it to overtime and then shoot themselves in the foot in overtime. I mean, they held Justin Jefferson to 1 catch in regulation. Oh, I'm just going to say this now. We kind of picked the worst time maybe to face the Colts with Richardson coming off his best game. But the Bears have got a little bit of something. Maybe not on the ground because Swift went 13 for 30. But, you know, there were better times to face Caleb Williams.
Yeah, there is. Like, that sort of last 2 minutes was just madness. Obviously, you go into the 2-minute warning and it's 24-16 to the Vikings. They look like they've just about to kick that field goal to make it 27-16. You're like, oh, this is gonna, they've won this. Like, even if the Bears score, they'll have to onside kick it probably, and they won't get it. And then somehow they score, get the 2-point conversion, get the onside kick the field goal to win with time expiring. Well, not to win, to go to overtime, time expiring. And then, yeah, they've got all kind of the momentum with them. They've they've just scored 11 points in the space of 2 minutes, like even not even 2 minutes. Well, yeah, roughly 2 minutes, let's say. And yet they stalled out and they let John Parker Rombo kick a field goal to win the game for the Vikings. Like it's gonna be scary coming against them on Thursday, I think, because yeah, Caleb's in form. He's finally kind of getting there with most of his receivers. Like I think with
So DJ Moore, 7 of 7 for 106 and a touchdown. Keenan Allen, 9 of 15 for 86 and a touchdown. Cole Kmet, 7 of 10 for 64. Rome Odunze, 5 of 10 for 39. DeAndre Swift, 3 of 4 for 35. Like, lots of people getting lots of yards.
Yeah. And that defense has kind of come alive with the forcing the turnovers. Obviously, Jonathan Owens getting that red one in the red zone to stall the Vikings yet again in the red zone after what happened with the Jags game. They've got stuff there. They can they can do stuff to teams, and it does make me worry a bit about Thursday because obviously it's Thanksgiving again. I'm having kind of flashbacks to the Thanksgiving game I watched in the pub up here. Admittedly, that was a Mitchell Trubisky versus I think it was Jeff Driscoll game. No, it was David Blau because his first ever career completion was the massive touchdown to Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, 75 yards.
But we've got a lot more talent now, and as we saw, the Bears can put themselves in positions to win and yet somehow snatch defeat from that position.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember with all of this is I'm saying maybe it's the worst time to face Caleb Williams, but the Bears' defense was this vaunted thing, the thing they were relying on. And yeah, they shut down Justin Jefferson, but at the expense of pretty much everything else. Jordan Addison went 8 of 9 for 162 and a touchdown, and TJ Hawkinson, his second game back from injury, 7 of 9 for 114. And Aaron Jones on the ground was 22 for 106 and a touchdown. So they conceded yards everywhere apart from the number one threat. And you can't live by just keying in on one guy and letting everyone else score yards. So maybe where the Bears' offense is starting to come alive, the defense is maybe starting to crumble a little bit. So let's see.
True.
But not to do the Bears preview before we do the Bears preview tomorrow. We'll come on to this game a little bit more after I've had a second watch through tomorrow afternoon. Next game up is the Patriots at the Dolphins. And the Patriots were scoreless through 3. The Dolphins were up 31-0 at one point and end up 34-15 winners. Tua 29 of 40 for 317 and 4 touchdowns. They only got 65 yards on the ground. They only needed 65 yards on the ground. Drake May was a bit Drake May. Unfortunately, 22 of 37 for 222. The double Nelson, a touchdown and a pick. Not much of anything else, to be honest. It was just Miami just dominated.
Yeah, like I kind of agree with the whole Drake May not doing too much, but you still saw the flashes. So obviously the touchdown throw to Austin Hooper, which I know on the box score is 38 yards, but it was a lot longer than that. It was, you say, it's pretty much from midfield, and he threw it to like the 2-yard line. There's the flashes there. It's just with Tua coming back, that offense kind of came alive, and it took a special play from Drake May and then a special play from Christian Gonzalez to even keep the Patriots in this. So there's stuff for New England to build on for sure. They've got a bit of hope now for the future. Like they've got a couple of cornerstones to go around. But the Dolphins are going to do it again, aren't they? They're going to win the next couple, get themselves into the playoffs as a wild card, and then flame out again.
Moving on to the next game, Bucks at Giants, and much like the previous game where it's 31-0, this one was 30-0 to the Buccaneers before the Giants score late. It was the first appearance of Tommy DeVito. He was not great, despite going 21 of 31 for 189. Baker, 24 of 30 for 294. And on the ground, I mean, what a different team Tampa Bay are compared to last year. Tampa Bay, the worst rushing team in the league last year. This time, Bucky Irving, 12 for 87 and a touchdown. Rashad White, 12 for 37 and a touchdown. I mean, totally different team, Ash. You know, Mike Evans back in the lineup now. Cade Otton is somehow this massive weapon. And yeah, they don't have Godwin, but they've got pretty much everything else.
Yeah, they have, like... Mike Evans just coming back just helps him so much because it just takes the pressure off all these lower level receivers where they just aren't getting covered to heck now because teams have to focus on Evans. It means that K. Dotton gets a bit more open over the middle. So admittedly, only brought in one of his targets, but that's for 30 yards. Raheem Jarrett, one target, one catch, 30 yards. Then Payne Durham, who I absolutely loved in the draft class a couple of like 2 years ago, one catch, 1 yard, one catch, one target, 26. They've replaced Godwin's production by spreading it out. Like the person who's probably got the most run from that is the former Giants Sterling Shepard, 7 targets, 5 catches, only 16 yards, though kind of being that possession guy. But yet they've worked it out somehow offensively with Evans coming back, obviously helping, Bucket Irving kind of breaking out. It just helped them. And that defense, I know, again, it's against the Giants team that's kind of floundering right now. They've still got pieces on that offense, though. Obviously, Nick Neighbors is still there. Tyrone Tracy, who I have in fantasy, so I wished for a bit more from him. He's still there. Like they've got pieces there, but the Bucks managed to absolutely shut them down pretty much. And as for the Giants defense, like Tyler Nubin had a good day, which kind of makes me happy because I was high on him in the draft class. But other than that, there's not a lot to hang your hat on. Even Brian Burns, who I love to hell as a former Knoll, didn't do anything. Kayvon Thibodeau in his first game off IR didn't really do anything. So I don't know. The Giants, they're in a situation. They really can have to work it out right now. And unfortunately for them, they're having to eat a lot of dead cap over this next year. So they can't do too much to help themselves. So it might be a 3-year rebuild for them, which really sucks.
Moving on to the next game, Cowboys at Commanders in the craziest game of the week. Cowboys win 34-26, which included a 41-point fourth quarter. Jaden Daniels, 25 of 38 for 275, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He barely had 100 yards passing deep into this game before coming alive late and having that big 86-yarder to Terry McLaurin to get back in this game when there seemed like there was no hope. Cooper Rush, very impressive. 24 of 32 for 247 and 2 touchdowns. And this Dallas running game that has been non-existent all year. Rico Dowdle, 19 carries for 86 yards. You know, maybe that's the difference in this game. They actually had something there. Daniels also was 7 for 74 and a touchdown on the ground. But, you know, the crazy game with, was it 3 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes? Including an onside kick returned for a touchdown when he really should have slid to sort the win out, but he never did. A nuts game for a dead and buried Cowboys who are ruining their draft position, but putting themselves in position to draft a running back like every good Dallas Cowboys fan should be hoping for right now. And the Commanders shooting themselves in the foot against a dead and buried team in their own division, and now suddenly, you know, in a strong NFC where 10 wins may not be enough, 7-5 Commanders look like they might be in a little bit of trouble. They're starting to slide a little bit.
Yeah, they really are. Like, I hate that I'm going to be right about Ash and Deontay being a cow, but I really, 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 really hate it. It's going to pay me to watch that. Kind of like how it pains me to watch Keon in the Bills uniform and that, but that's by the by. I hate being right as well. The Commanders, is it Cliff Kingsbury syndrome, as I keep pointing out over the past couple of podcasts, where for some reason his teams just fall apart in the second half of seasons? Because, yeah, up until this fourth quarter, you're looking at a 10-9 game. Austin Seibert showing why he's no longer a Detroit Lion by missing 2 PATs.
I mean, to be fair, that final one, which was to tie the game, was a terrible snap.
Yeah. But that first one, which would have made it 10-3 for the Commanders, it's not great. Yes, that long snap for that last one was shocking, but then somehow you let them come back in. So it's special teams. I know obviously I just said cyber, but it's just the kind of special team in general. Letting Cavonte Turbin muff a kick, pick it up, do one spin move, and then he's gone 99 yards for a kickoff, return touchdown. And then letting maybe they let Thomas kind of score so they can try and score again in that last off the kickoff return themselves, or that with like a Hail Mary like they did against the Bears. You need to execute better. I know that situation, you can't really do too much, but you've just got to execute better on special teams because that might have won you the game if the long snapper snapped it better, if they perform like they did better on the onside kick. This could have been a different game and we wouldn't have been talking about the Commanders as kind of falling apart and us being very certain now the biggest threat to us is the Philadelphia Eagles. Because a couple of weeks ago, you would have been like, yeah, the Eagles have got Saquon Barkley. He looks good, but can you really trust Jalen Hurts? Is that defense really there? And the Commanders look so good. They're really overperforming. They seem like a team of destiny. The wheels are falling off for them. They really are. The best thing for this in terms of looking at it for a Lions perspective is maybe, just maybe Cowboys drag themselves back up to 500 and Mike McCarthy convinces Jerry to keep him around another year. That'd just be hilarious. Just the mediocrity, even though I kind of do want to see if the Jets don't get rid of A-Rod. Imagine the Jets hiring Mike McCarthy as a final fuck you to Aaron Rodgers. He has to play his final season of his career under the guy that he got chased out of Green Bay because he didn't like him. It would have been just hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Next game is Chiefs at Panthers in one of the more entertaining games. I mean, this was one of the bigger lines of the week, and the Panthers gave the Chiefs absolutely everything. The Panthers, I saw a stat, I can't remember exactly how long the timescale was. I think it was that the Panthers are the third team in this era of the Chiefs since Andy Reid took over that scored a touchdown on 75% plus of their offensive drives.
Sounds about right.
That's absolutely crazy. Bryce Young looks like a quarterback again. A man reborn since coming back after being benched. He was 21 of 35 for 263 and a touchdown. They had 4 yards per carry on the ground. Chuba Hubbard, 16 for 58 and a touchdown. Chiefs, I mean, Mahomes on the stat line looks better than he did before, 27 to 37 to 267 and 3 touchdowns. They also had 165 on the ground, so massively outgained the Panthers. But it was one of those games that, you know, the Chiefs always looked like they were out in front. They were 20-9 up at halftime, but the Panthers kept coming back at them, and at the end it was a field goal as time was expiring for the Chiefs to win this game. And if they'd lost, I don't think they could have had any complaints.
Yeah, they really couldn't have done because, well, obviously you'll know it by now because obviously we're discussing the game, but who scored the most points on the Kansas City Chiefs this season? Is it the Ravens? No. Is it the Bengals? No. Is it the Bills? No. Is it the 49ers? No. It's the Carolina Panthers who are seen as one of the worst teams in the league. Like, honestly, you look at it, so 27 points would have won them 1, arguably 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you score 27 points in 6 of the other weeks, that probably would have won you the game against the Chiefs. They can't keep getting away with this. I know it's what the Chiefs do. They're the kind of team that always seems to grit out a win, kind of like what we're becoming. We're becoming in their kind of ilk, but in the NFC. But they just keep doing it. Noah Great exploding 66 yards, 2 touchdowns on 4 catches. Kelsey finally kind of doing something. 6 catches for 62 yards, but no touchdowns. Xavier Worthy again, kind of proving that wrong after he said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to bench him. He's going to do stuff." Exactly, probably benched him 46 yards and 4 catches. DeAndre Hopkins showing why they traded for him, 5 catches for 35 and a touchdown. And Kareem Hunt having an absolute day on the ground, dragging himself up from 5th in the league in rushing success rate all the way up to 1st over Sonic and Knuckles. Offensively, they did just enough when they needed to. The defense kind of fell off a bit this week, as we know, because obviously the Panthers managed to score 27 on them. And also hope that Jadavion Sanders is all right. I know he's supposedly doing okay in hospital, but obviously that was a scary hit and injury to take. Hope he's okay because team's pretty much their only receiving weapon from tight end. Like Tommy Tremble ain't it. They're probably going to need to draft yet another tight end again, which is when you have holes everywhere else, is not good use of resources, but it is what it is. Just happy that Bryce Young is kind of showing why he was picked first overall, because it might give the Panthers a bit of hope in an NFC South that is slowly getting worse. Like the Saints are the Saints at this point. They're going to be in Campbell. They need to sort themselves out. The Falcons, yeah, they've got Kirko Chains for now, and they've got a decent defense, but the offense still ain't it, and it's going to get worse over time. And then the Bucks are still the Bucks, but again, Mike like that defense getting older and older. Can they keep Baker around? And that it's the Panthers have a chance to, if they build right over the next season or two, to be the best team in the South again in a couple of years. Hopefully, Bryce can be their QB for that.
Fingers crossed for him. Next game up is Titans at the Texans in one of the more surprising results in this game. Maybe not that surprising, given how gritty the Titans are and how weak the Texans have been so far this year. They fall to 7-5 on the year. CJ Stroud, he's having a sophomore slump, isn't he? 20 of 33, 247, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. They only have 40 yards on the ground on 17 carries, including 3 by Stroud. Nico Collins with a triumphant return from injury, 5 of 9 for 92 and a touchdown. But Will Levis, 18 of 24, 278, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He had a really long touchdown to Chigaquonkwo for 70 yards in his only catch. Calvin Ridley was 5 of 6 for 93. Pollard on the ground was 24 for 119 and a touchdown. The Texans couldn't stop the run, and then when it came to it, Levis was efficient with the pass. And, when Stroud throws 2 picks, that's the difference in this game.
It really is. Like,
even though the Tennessee Titans fumbled it twice, which was recovered by the Texans as well.
Yeah, it's just... This game was a mad one to keep an eye on. Like, as I say, Chigaquonkwo, of course, you have your yearly great game when I'm not watching. Like, you keep selling me a dream and it's going to hurt. Calvin Ridley continues form that he seemingly picks up against us. Pollard looking great. And the again, I know they gave up 27 points, but defense looked pretty decent as well. It just comes down to one thing for the Texans, and you say, right, it's the run game. They couldn't stop the Titans running it, and they couldn't run it themselves. Like Joe Mixon, ever since that stupid fancy analyst said, oh yeah, start Mixon against the Lions, he's absolutely going to pop off. Basically fell off the face of the earth in terms of production. Like, it's mad. I'm just happy that obviously Nico Collins is back nice and healthy. That says my fancy team right ready for the playoffs. But other than that, is Stroud just having that little slump because the offensive line in front of him slowly falling apart, and that defense, which was so vaunted in by me earlier in this podcast, just couldn't get it done against a shoddy Titans team.
Shoddy. Ouch. That hurts me. I still picked them to win the division.
They probably will do, but
I'm saying I picked the Titans to win the division.
Oh God, you did, didn't you? Oh no,
no, but as a long shot, they were plus 900, and I thought that's value.
Oh yeah.
3 more games to cover. First one up, Broncos at Raiders, and this was an odd one. The Broncos were poor pretty much all game, turned it on late, but they were down 13-9 at the half and struggled to get anything going. Minshew exits this game with a season-ending injury. Bo Nix, I mean, the stats look okay. 25 of 42 for 273 and 2 touchdowns. Minshew was also 25 of 42, incidentally. He was only for 230, a touchdown and a pick. But Denver were under 3 yards a carry. We saw an Amir Abdullah receiving touchdown in this game.
Yep.
Cortland Sutton, 8 of 10 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. I guess the compliment I can give Denver is things weren't going their way away from home, and they gritted the game out and kind of just kept plugging away, and it eventually told.
Yeah. And I hate to rag on them because they won the game, but what the fuck is Javonte Williams' career, man? Dude was an absolute beast in college at UNC. Set all these records with PFF for broken missed tackles and that. He's had 100-yard game since he's come into the league. 8 carries for -2 yards ain't going to be it, boss. And even then, you take away his longest, which was a run for 7. So that means your other 7 carries, you've gone for -9 yards. What? Just what? Like, well done to Cortland Sutton for finally remembering how to be a proper NFL receiver again, nearly getting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, it's that, I know, again, you're playing a Lakers team that isn't exactly blessed with quarterback talent right now, especially with Minshew going out with a broken collarbones to starting Desmond Ridder. But you better say that about Denver, giving up a 34-yard pass to AJ Cole. Like, what? Cecile McCormack leading the Raiders in rushing. I like to see that. Someone who kind of liked him in that draft class. Amir Abdullah still continuing to exist and doing 2016 Lions things. Lovely. Both Brock Bowers kind of fell off a bit this week. But it's just, yeah, when they needed to, the Denver defense just gritted it out and did what they need to do. And you kind of called it a bit when we discussed in the game. Nick Benito continuing to have his sort of breakout, absolutely do it, playing great. Who would have thought for a guy who came into the league as an edge rusher at basically my weight, still playing pretty damn well even at that. Love to see it.
Next game, the Packers blow away the 49ers in Green Bay 38-10. It was, I think, personally, an uninspiring game by both teams. Obviously, the Packers blow away the 49ers, who are without their starting quarterback and Christian McCaffrey, not himself. Brandon Allen in relief, 17-29 for 199, a touchdown and a pick. Was actually more passing yards than Jordan Love, who was 13-23 for 163 and 2 touchdowns. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey was 11 of 30 for 31 on the ground. It was just, ugh. Jordan Mason incidentally was 3 for 8, but his long was 16, meaning his other 2 were for -8, which is not ideal. Green Bay, the reason why they won this game was Josh Jacobs running the ball, 26 carries for 106 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, that's only 4 yards per rush. But in this sort of game that's a bit gritty, as long as you can keep churning out that 4 yards a carry, you're going to be doing something good. Romeo Dobbs had a good day, receiving 3 of 6 for 54. And then the touchdowns were by Kraft and Malik Heath, respectively. But, you know, it's one of those games where San Francisco, yes, they had the pick from Brandon Allen. They didn't get any rushing yards on the day. But they also fumbled the ball twice, one by Allen, one by McCaffrey, that were recovered by Green Bay. So I don't think it was the Packers were necessarily remarkable in this game, but when Jacobs gets 3 touchdowns on the ground, you're just going to lose.
Yeah. The only real bright spot from this, in terms of maybe looking at it from our lens, is that the Packers used their one good game from Malik Heath in a season against the Niners, which means he won't be doing it against us on Thursday Night Football in a couple of weeks, which is always great to see. But yeah, I even said it when we previewed the game. It's like, if Brock Purdy goes, then maybe I'll side with the 49ers. But as soon as it came out, he wasn't. I picked the Packers, which obviously hurts me because it means they still stay in the race. And it also means, considering we won, the Vikings won, we are the first division in NFL since at least relay alignment, I think. It's in the Discord, the actual stat, but we're one of the first divisions to have 3 teams with more than 8 wins after week 12 in the season.
Isn't it?
It's pain.
Many thanks to Jeff Hurley for the $10 super sticker, which says, yippee! He says he's got to go back to watch the show from the start, but appreciate you, Jeff. The biggest benefactor of the not benefactor, that's not what I mean. I mean contributor, patron, that's what I mean.
Patron, yeah.
Thank you, appreciated, Jeff. Right, 2 games to go. We had the last one in the late window, Cardinals at Seahawks, in one of the weirder games of the week, at Seattle, and they win 16-6 against one of the league's hot offenses. Kyler Murray does his MVP candidacy some serious damage. 24 of 37 for 285, no touchdowns and a pick. They only have 49 yards on the ground. Kyler 2 for 9. James Conner 7 for 8. Seattle, meanwhile, Geno was 22 of 31 for 254, a touchdown and a pick. They also struggled on the ground. Kenneth Walker 16 for 41 and Charbonnet 6 for 22. I mean, Trey McBride was Trey McBride. 12 of 15 for 133. What a guy he is. And Jigba also had a really good game for Seattle, 6 of 7 for 77 on a touchdown. Gino had a fumble too, which he actually ended up getting back on. But this game kind of dominated by how good Seattle were, especially stopping the run, led by a man that they picked up on waivers or through trade, Ernest Jones. He was traded away, wasn't he, from LA to somewhere else, and then traded back
Tennessee.
into division. Yeah,
and then they traded him to Seattle right before we played them, because then they got Jerome Baker. Yeah, Jerome Baker in the trade.
Yeah, so both teams had 5 sacks in this game, but Leonard Williams especially with 2.5 of them. An odd game, Ash, but I mean, Seattle scored a touchdown. That's kind of the big difference here.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it was a weird ass game. Like, I loved the Trey McBride breakout. Love to see it. I loved him in that draft class. Glad he's breaking out there. But it just, when he's your only bit of offense, really. I know, like, Michael Wilson had a couple of big catches. No, they didn't really do anything else on offense. Like, Kylie kind of fell off. The run game just wasn't there for them. And while they kind of kept it close with Seattle, it's obviously the pick six was the big sort of turning point in a way, because that just killed the game off. And I hope Kobe Bryant enjoys the game, the fine he's going to get in the post for doing the beast mode celebration. At least get an original one, because JMO did it last week, mate. Get your own celebrations. But yeah, it was a weird game to watch. Like, Gino did just enough, I guess. Jackson Smith and Jig were just continuing his breakout. Dean Metcalf kind of getting back a bit into form. But again, the run game wasn't even there for Seattle either. Like, Kenneth Walker, 2.6 yards a carry. Zach Charbonnet, 3.7. It was just a total game. Seattle now back on top in the NFC West again, but they probably won't win it. It's just such a clusterfuck there. They're the new NFC South, and it's painful to watch in a way, because you've got 3 teams that I really like. The only one I don't really like is the 49ers, to be honest. It's painful to watch them just beat each other up, because whoever wins it, they're going to... Obviously, I'll say this, they'll probably go and do a Giants or something and win the Super Bowl, but whoever comes out of that division, they're going to go out in the wild card round. The same with the NFC South. Like, it's maybe hubristic of me to say the only AFC Championship game I can see right now is us versus the Eagles. Everyone else is just going to beat themselves up and then knock each other out of the playoffs, and we're just going to be left standing there, I think.
I mean, the thing is, it's interesting because whoever comes out in this division might face the top NFC side that don't win their division, which is clearly coming out of the North. And right now is the Vikings. And if it is the Vikings away at Seattle, away at Arizona, I don't think it's a given that Minnesota win this game with the way they're playing. Like, the Vikings just got taken to overtime by a Bears team which has had its struggles. The Vikings recently have just not played well, and yet they're still continuing to win games. If it's the Packers, I have my doubts because of the way the Packers have played recently. Their form gives me hope, in inverted commas, that the Packers would beat whoever they were facing, even away from home. But I don't think the Vikings would beat either of those teams right now, away. So I don't necessarily buy what you're selling there, but I do see what you're saying. It's kind of a beat up 500 division. I mean, it's one of the most compelling divisions in football right now, because you've got 2 5-6 teams and 2 6-5 teams. Great.
Yeah.
Like, brilliant. Well done, guys. They're like, you're not the NFC least, because it's all competitive. And every single one of those sides can beat every single one of the other sides. And the way it's going, the Cardinals hold the tiebreaker over the 49ers, and so do the Seahawks. The Seahawks have it over the Cardinals, but do the Rams have it over the Seahawks? And, it's so incestuous in all the way the tiebreakers are going to work out. It's brilliant. I love it. It's great. Final game is Eagles versus the Rams. And the Rams, again, so with the chance to go joint top of the division here, but they fall to an Eagles side 37-20, who Saquon Barkley just took over, didn't he? It's a top 10 all-purpose yard game of all time by Saquon Barkley. Yep. 26 carries for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, and 4 of 4 for 47 through the air. You know, Hurts' stats aren't anything to write home about. 15 of 22 for 179 and a touchdown. They didn't need to be because, you know, when he got a running back running for 255, who cares what the quarterback's doing? For the Rams, Stafford went 24 of 36 with 243 and 2 touchdowns, no picks. And Kyron Williams went 16 for 72 and a touchdown. Like, the Rams kind of did nothing particularly wrong. Puka Nacua, 9 of 13 for 117. Cooper Kupp, 8 of 11 for 60 and a touchdown. You have a look at the Rams' stats. They're not bad, necessarily. They fumbled the ball 4 times, but only lost it once. Nakobe Dean got that back. I would say the difference in this game is the Eagles up front were just fantastic. You know, they have 5 sacks in this game. 2 by Milton Williams, who was taken 1 pick after Ali McNeil, was he not? Brandon Graham had 1. Josh Sweat had 1. Nakobe Dean had 1. You know, they bullied the Rams up front. Stafford was running for his life, and then they took over on the ground. I don't know what the time of possession was, but I was only 34 to 26. So it wasn't massively in favour of the Eagles, despite what the stats are showing there. But they were 7.1 yards per play versus 4.9. That's a massive difference.
Yeah. I do feel sorry for the Rams here because it's painful to go up against a generational performance like that. Though I'm not going to apologise for it at the same time because Saquon Barkley's basically saved 2 of my fantasy teams this week. And I'm so fucking grateful. Just how painful must it be to be a Giants fan right now? Watching Saquon Barkley absolutely run over teams and then also seeing your former best defensive player play pretty damn well in the green and gold for the Packers. Just pain for the Giants, and I love it. Hurts didn't have to really do anything, which is kind of how you want it for him. Like, if you put in positions where he has to be the one to carry the team, he sometimes, well, most of the time he falters. So him being in a situation now where, yeah, he suddenly has got a run game to sort of fall back on with Barkley. AJ Brown's doing his thing again. So Barkley's doing it on through the air as well. Goddard's kind of back to form in a way, catching most of his passes. Obviously, it's mostly for not any yards, but it works. And the defense is still just about good enough to keep teams to 20 points. If all you have to do is score 3 touchdowns to win a game, that's usually a good position to be in. So while, yeah, Hurts isn't exactly going to win MVP votes for this performance, he's doing enough to keep the team moving the chains when they do focus on Barkley. Defense is doing their thing. It's good to see. Love the continued breakout for Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell and Reed Blankenship. That's 3 absolute beasts for them to build around in the secondary. Scary. It's scary because if there's one back in the league that I don't want to face at all, despite us having that lovely record that has been broken since the Panthers game on Christmas Eve a couple of years ago, it's Saquon Barkley like this because he can take, as he showed in this game, can take over a game and win it all by himself. And that's scary to think because it could happen to us. It could.
It could, although I have my doubts. Anyway. Any final thoughts you got before we sign off here?
Go Chargers. I want you to win Harbaugh off.
Yeah, I'm behind the Chargers as well. I'd like to see them do something. I strongly think the Chargers are going to win that game anyway, but we shall see. Apparently, they have activated an absolutely terrible player, so let's see what happens with that.
God, who?
Who's the awful cornerback who's a bit of a dick, who can't play? Oh, I can't remember. I saw it. Hang on.
They've signed Eli Apple.
That's the one, yeah. Shit corner who can't play. So that's going to be interesting. But anyway, right, we are going to call it a show there because we're going to be back tomorrow for a double bill of Roar the Lions, the UK. We have got first up the College Football Podcast. They're looking back at the week 13 that was and looking ahead to rivalry week next week, the last game of the regular season in college football. You will then be faced with the conference championships and then we'll be into bowl seasons. So We are not far away from the end of the season. That'll be all then she wrote for the college football.
God.
Ash
Thank
is
God.
just praying for death when it comes to college football, to be honest.
Marion, come home. Marion, come home.
Yeah.
Marion, come home.
So once all of that's in the books, of course, then we can start our draft prep. And I'm sure the College Football Podcast, after a short break, will be getting right on that. If you want to know who could be future Lions, it's a great place to go and listen to some really well-reasoned research and some hard graft that those guys do. Ant and Ryan are fantastic. And they've had a great track record on hits on who the Lions might draft, with big results on day 3, not just day 1 and 2. We'll then be back straight afterwards for the Bears preview. We'll be joined by returning guest Ryan Dangle from the Bear Down Chicago podcast. Ryan is potentially my favourite guest, especially for returning favourite guest that we've had on our show. Very happy guy, the best of the best Bears fans. I know that might be a small bucket, but he is the best of them. So I would love for you guys to come and join us live for that. It's going to be 5 Eastern, 4 Central, 10 p.m. UK time. So join us for that. You know where to find us on our socials. We're all the Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. The group on Facebook for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. We were well represented in that Facebook group at the game in Indy, and I expect that to continue through the rest of the year. Guys, it's Thanksgiving preview tomorrow. We're not going to be live for the play-by-play on Thanksgiving. I apologise, but I have work commitments. It's 5:30 UK time on a Thursday, so I can't get out of this one. It's the first game I'm missing live in about 4 years, which sucks, but never mind. It is what it
That's a lie.
is. It?
Seattle last year.
Oh yeah, I was on holiday. Yeah, good point. Okay, fine. I saw bits and pieces of it in Turkey.
Oh God, me saying that, I've realised, oh my God, you're going to curse us.
Yeah.
Oh my God. DLP not doing a live show. Matt not here to do the live play-by-play.
We're going to be fine.
This is going to be painful.
Anyway, we're going Monday, Tuesday this week, and we're going Monday, Tuesday next week. So Bears review is going to be Monday next week. Packers preview will then be Tuesday because we're doing Thursday night football, aren't we? And then we have a mini bye into the Bills after that. So I hope you have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow for a double bill. But for now, Ash, thanks for doing this for me. Guys, thank you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.